Wow. Hello. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. I'm Manasong, a lewd, degen, author, and professional multiverse wizard, specializing in world building and Waifusmith. Now, floating by my shoulder is Grammary, a succubus who's always open to gain more accolade. But the milking session is for after the stream because right now it's time for some reading. And today we'll be continuing The Hobbit. We were exactly over here as our heroes were swept away from harm by the eagles, by the famous eagles. And now, hello, Ultra Onitkucha. Thank you for reading me the first. Congrats. This is loud as fuck shit. Okay. That was loud as fuck. That might have been actually drowned out of my own voice. I was not with my headphones on because I was in a hurry, but I did not actually listen to the beginning of the music before it started. Anyway, yes. Manasong, Lewd in the altar. We have Grammary behind me. Let me show what's the music for today. Against the Storm, original soundtrack. Now, thank you for redeeming the first. Ultra on it, Kucha. Time to be the first to leave. Oh god, he's just stealing Grammary's time. Okay, I can't blame him. Who wouldn't want a whole night with Grammary? Who wouldn't do anything they could to get the first? Hmm? Who wouldn't do? And I love you, random lurker. Winky winky. Hello, Del's son of Del. Del's son. How are you doing? I'm here just to say hi and ask for hopes and prayers for my theology exam tomorrow. Oh god. Lots of thoughts, lots of hopes, lots of prayers, good friend. I hope you do well. I hope everyone does well on their exams. We all should benefit from the bounty of knowledge and intelligence. And exams are not exactly the best way to quantify that. Quantify knowledge, I must say so. But it is what it is. At least it tests if you're good at doing exercises or things like that for your memory. Yes. So indeed, you have my blessing. You have my good wishes for a good exam to you. Jesus Christ, is still loud. Okay. This is still loud. Oh shit, I forgot. I should have turned on my laptop so that I could monitor the audio levels, because it's easier that way than just listening to my own stream, because it ends up being echoed. Hold on. I'm running late today too. I am running late. I was doing some generation. I want new screens, new arrival, leaving, and your back screens. So I was working on that, and I did not want to interrupt it before I was done. I'm not fully done yet because, of course, I didn't actually put them on yet. But at least this part is done. Part that I was doing. Kind of difficult to get good looking scenes, or at least scenes that look exactly how I wanted. Meow. Oh, no, this is not the right. God dang it. No, this is the right one. Minimize it. And book. One second, my computer is my laptop still turning on. I'm gonna take a look into how it sounds before we begin. It's been quite the chilly days over here, so things have been quite nice. I'm very comfy. It'll be a good day for some nice reading. Story is very. The Hobbit is. How do I say it? What is the Hobbit? The Hobbit is nice. The Hobbit is good. The Hobbit is Comforting story. So it does make for some pleasant time for me, even though it strains my throat to keep reading. Keep reading. Straight up for multiple hours. What is this music for though? Like this is like part 2 of the soundtrack. On Anomalous. I guess this is okay. I prefer the first part. The first part has like more interesting interesting songs. As for the story. Oh, okay. No rolling height. We are just here. Let me just actually confirm. I did not actually confirm. We stopped here last stream. But I do remember this. There's a Hall of Anger. Yeah, there's still quite a few pages before the last chapter, so I am 90% sure this is where we were. It's been like 2 weeks or something. Yeah, because last week I skipped. I skipped because I had a headache. Unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately. There you go. Yes, this is the exact page. Just reading some DMs. Okay, I just got called a dwarf. My people. I'm reading a book about buying people because I'm a shorty little doggo. And I'm reading. Dwarves are my cousins, not my brothers. We do not share races. I'm just a short shota. But I'm not a dwarf. The shota race is a cousin race of the dwarfs. Yes, exactly. This is canon lore now. This is canon lore. My race is not human. My race is dog shota. Oh man. Be mind, I am not a dwarf. Finally. Finally, time to listen to myself. Oh. I listen to the soundtrack to the end, but I also feel like doing the first soundtrack. Yeah, I feel like listening the soundtrack to the end and then going back to the first. No, I feel like going back to the first part of the soundtrack, which is the one that I've listened many times to. I don't exactly remember the soundtrack or where these songs play. But I also want to listen to this one to the end. It feels a bit more somber, this soundtrack. Wait, let me check actual music levels, because I want the level to be a specific height. Yeah, the music level is nice. Yeah. If it's too high, it gets distracting. If it's too high, it gets distracting. It's racism. It's racism to call a shota a hobbit or a dwarf. Okay, let's actually start beginning the story. Again. The party of heroes, the dwarfs, Gandalf, and Bilbo the Hobbit, they had just escaped from being captured by goblins inside the mountain. But as they ran away, they met with a pack of wolves, evil, talking wolves, who have surrounded them and sieged them, you could say, and prevent them from escaping. Surrounded them and I've just surrounded them as they climbed up onto the trees, because wolves cannot climb trees, thankfully. That would be kind of frightening. Even though bears and some things like panthers can climb trees, wolves cannot. Even though these are smart talking wolves. So they were kind of stuck because the goblins then were about to arrive. And Gandalf, the little hero of the story, the little Mary Sue, the Mary Sue, has came up with a spell and burned pine cones, and started exploding them like cluster grenades. Exploded them as such a cluster grenades and started a fire, which caused chaos among the wolves. But that was not enough. That was still not enough. The goblins have arrived and they're just waiting now until the trees of our heroes burn down to a crisp. But this commotion attracted the attention of the Lord of the Eagles, who hates goblins and has called for his brethren and came to inspect things. And then suddenly, just as the tree was starting to fall and the fire was starting to get too much into the fire was starting to spread too much into the trees of the heroes, the Lord of the Eagles swept down from above, seized them in his talons, and was gone. One more second. Just gotta type one last thing over here. Okay. I'm having an argument. An argument over here about the shotas and hobbits and dorfs over here. Hang on. Anyway, moving on. There was a howl of anger and surprise from the goblin. Loud cried the Lord of the Eagles, to whom Gandalf had now spoken. Back swept the great birds that were with them, and down they came like huge black shadows. The wolves yammered and gnashed their teeth. The goblins yelled and stamped with rage, and flung their heavy spears in the air in vain. Over them whooped the eagles. The dark rush of their beating wings smote them to the floor or drove them far away. Their talons tore at goblin faces. Other birds flew to the treetops and seized the doors, were scrambling up now as far as they ever dared to go. Poor little Bilbo was very nearly left behind again. He just managed to catch hold of Dory's legs, as Dory was borne off last of all. And up they went above, and up they went together above the tumult and the burning. Bilbo swinging in the air with his arms nearly breaking. Now far below the goblins and the wolves were scattering far and wide in the woods. A few eagles were still circling and sweeping above the battleground. The flames above the trees sprang suddenly up above the highest branches. And they went up in crackling fire. There was a sudden flurry of sparks and smoke. Bilbo had escaped only just in time. Soon the light of the burning was faint below. Soon the light of the burning was faint below, a red twinkle on the black floor, and they were high up in the sky, rising all the time in strong sweeping circles. Bilbo never forgot that flight, clinging onto Dori's ankles. He moaned, my arms, but Dori groaned, my poor legs, my poor legs. And the best times heights made Bilbo giddy. He used to turn queer if he looked over the edge of quite a little cliff, and he had never liked ladders, let alone trees, never having had to escape from wolves before. So you can imagine how his head swam now, when he looked down between his dangling toes and saw the dark lands and opening wide underneath on him. And saw the dark lands opening wide underneath him, touched here and there with the light of the moon on a hillside rock or a stream in the plains. Imagine a hobbit, the one that has such an aversion to heights that all their houses are flat, now being carried by eagles far above the ground. The pale peaks of the mountains were coming nearer, moonlit spikes of rocks sticking out of black shadows. Summer or not, it seemed very cold. He shut his eyes and wondered if he could hold on any longer. Then he imagined what would happen if he did not. He felt sick. The flight ended only just in time for him, just before his arms gave away. He loosed Dori's ankles with a grasp and fell onto the rough platform of an eagle's eyrie. How do you pronounce this?
Eyrie.
No, wrong language.
Airy.
Airy. An eagle's eyrie. There he lay without speaking, and his thoughts were a mixture of surprise at being saved from the fire, and fear lest he fall off that narrow place into the deep shadows on either side. He was feeling very queer indeed in his head by this time after the dreadful events of the last 3 days with next nothing to eat. And he found himself saying aloud, now I know what a piece of bacon feels like when it's suddenly picked out of the pan on a fork and put back on the shelf. No, you don't, he heard Dori answering, because the bacon knows that it'll get back in the pan sooner or later. And it's to be hoped we shan't. Also, eagles aren't forks. Oh no, not a bit like storks. Forks, I mean, said Bilbo, sitting up and looking anxiously at the eagle who was perched close by. He wondered what other nonsense he had been saying, and if the eagle would think it rude. You want not to be rude to an eagle when you're only the size of a hobbit and are opening his eyrie at night. The eagle only sharpened his beak on a stone and trimmed his feathers and took no notice. Soon another eagle flew up. The lord, the eagle, bids you to bring your prisoners to the great shelf, he cried, and was off again. The other seized Dori in his claws and flew away with him into the night, leaving Bilbo all alone. He had just the strength to wonder what the messenger had meant by prisoners, and to begin to think of being torn up for supper like a rabbit when his own turn came. The eagle came back, seizing his talons by the back of his coat, and swooped off. This time, he flew only a short way. Very soon, Bilbo was laid down, trembling with fear, on a wide shelf of rock on the mountainside. Damn. I could not hold this yawn back. There was no path on it to save by flying, and no path down off, except by jumping over a precipice. There he found all the others, sitting with their backs to the mountain wall. The Lord of the Eagles also was there and was speaking to Gandalf. Hello, Billy. You cute Nuna Igwi. Look at it go. Look at that Nuna wiggle. So eepy. Blows up. Oh no! You're a bucket. You're a bucket. You should not blow up. That's not allowed. That is not how. That is against the natural laws for a bucket to explode, Billy. That is against the natural laws. Please don't blow up. Find the cure. When you go to the doctor, Billy, if you're feeling symptoms of blowing up, go to the doctor. It may be just gas. Maybe just trapped gas. You know. From a not so healthy diet. You can fix that. Okay, just reading a meme on the side that people put on my server. Anyway. There he found all the others sitting with their backs to the mountain wall. The Lord of the Eagles also was there and was speaking to Gandalf. It seemed that Bilbo was not going to be eaten after all. The wizard and the Eagle Lord appeared to know one another slightly, and even to be on friendly terms. As a matter of fact, Gandalf, who had often been in the mountains, had once rendered a service to the Eagles, and healed the Lord from an arrow. So you see, prisoners had meant prisoners rescued from the goblins, and not captives of the Eagles. As Bilbo listened to the talk of Gandalf, he realized that at least they were going to escape really and truly from the dreadful mountains. He was discussing plans with the great eagle for carrying the dwarves and his elves and Bilbo far away and sending them down well on their journey across the plains below. Why is this picture like turned around? Is there a way for me to turn the image around? Oh, there we go. What's this called? The Misty Mountains looking west from the Eyrie towards Goblin Gate. Looking west from the Eyrie towards Goblin Gate. Oh, I see. Some trees. Quite open. Just mountains. I really like the idea of not the idea of. I really like imagining the geography of places. I really like imagining the geography of places. I put a lot of thought into the geography of my world building of when they're describing their journeys and things like that. It, as always, I prefer to give all the details possible rather than leaving to the imagination. Because you fill up your imagination with something that's somewhat realistic. Unless, well, I don't know. Because there are some, there's quite a lot of stories that are not realistic. There are quite a lot of stories that are not realistic, so it you fill with whatever you want. It's your imagination, but still, I like to help my readers, to share with them the beauties of my mind. Yeah, I guess that's my plan. Sharing the beauties that I imagine. The beauty, sharing with my readers the beauties. The beautiful landscapes that I imagine. The Lord of the Eagles would not take them anywhere near where man lives. They would shoot at us with their great bows of yew, he said. For they would think we're after their sheep. And at other times they would be right. No, we are glad to cheat the globings of their sport. And glad to repay our thanks to you, but we will not risk ourselves for dwarves and the southward flanks. Very well, said Gandalf. Take us wherein as far as you will. We are deeply obliged to you, but in the meantime, we are famished with hunger. I'm nearly dead of it, Bilbo said in a weak little voice that nobody heard. That perhaps can be mended, said the Lord of the Eagle. Later on, you might have seen a bright fire on the shelf of a rock and the figures of the dwarves round it, cooking and making a fine roasting smell. The eagles had brought up dry boughs for fuel, and they had brought rabbits, hares, and a small sheep. And so they did take the sheep from a human. The dwarves managed all the preparations. Bilbo was too weak to help. And anyway, he was not much good at skinning rabbits or cutting up meat, being used to having delivered by the butcher all ready to cook. Gandalf, too, was lying down after doing his part in setting the fire going. His eye and glowing had lost their tinderboxes. Dwarves had never taken two matches even yet. So ended the adventures of the Misty Mountain. Soon, Bilbo's stomach was feeling full and comfortable again, and he felt he could sleep contentedly. Though really, he would have liked a loaf and butter, better than bits of meat toasted on sticks. He slept curled up on the hard rock more soundly than ever he had done on his feather in his own little hole at home. But all night he dreamed of his own house and wandered in his sleep into all his different rooms looking for something he could not find, nor remember what it looked like. Looking for something that he could not find nor remember what it looked like. Now that's a mysterious passage. Chapter 7. 5, 6, 7, yeah. Queer lodging. 1 second. Let me drink. Gotta keep my throat wet and nice and moist. The next morning, Bilbo woke up with the early sun in his eyes. He jumped up to look at the time and to go and put his kettle on, and he found he was not home at all. So he sat down, wishing vain for a wash and a brush. He did not get either. No tea, nor toast, nor bacon for his breakfast. Only cold mutton and rabbit. And after that, he had to get ready for a fresh start. This time, he was allowed to climb onto an eagle's back and cling between his wings. The air rushed over him, and he shut his eyes. The dwarves were crying farewells and promising to repay the Lord of the Eagles if ever they could. As off rose 15 great birds from the mountainside. The sun was still close to the eastern edge of things. The morning was cool, and mists were in the valleys and hollows, and twined here and there about the peaks and pinnacles of the hills. Bilbo opened an eye to peep, and saw that the birds were already high up, and the world was far away, and the mountains were falling back behind them. into the distance. He shut his eyes again and held on tighter. "Don't pinch," said the eagle. "You need not be frightened like a rabbit, even if you look rather like one. It is a fair morning with little wind. What is finer than flying?" Bilbo would have liked to say a warm bath and late breakfast on the lawn afterwards, but he thought it better to say nothing at all, and to let go his clutch just a tiny bit. After a good while, the eagles must have seen the point they were making for, even from their great height, or they began to go down, circling round in great spire. They did this for a while, and at last the hobbit opened his eyes again. The earth was much nearer, and below them were trees that looked like oaks and elms, and wide grassland, and a river running through it all. But cropping out of the ground, right in the path of the stream which looped itself about it, was a great rock, almost a hill of stone, like a last outpost of the distant mountains, or a huge beast cast miles into the plain by some giant among giants. Let me show you a tiny bit. Quickly now, to the top of this rock the eagles swooped one by one and set down their passengers. "Farewell," they cried. "Wherever you fare, to your iris received you at journey's end." That is the polite thing to say among eagles. "May the wind under your wings bear you where the sun sails and the moon walks," answered Gandalf, who knew the correct reply. And so they parted. And though the Lord of the Eagles became, after days, the king of all birds, and wore a golden crown, and his 15 shifting golden collars made of the gold that the dwarves gave them, Bilbo never saw them again, except high and far off in the battle of 5 armies. But as that comes in at the end of this tale, we will say no more about it just now. There was a flat space on top of the hill of stone, and a well-worn path with many steps leading it down it to the river, across which a ford of huge flat stones led to the grassland beyond the stream. There was a little cave, a wholesome one with a pebbly floor, at the foot of the steps, and near the end of the stony ford. Here the party gathered and discussed what was to be done. "I always went to see you all safe if possible over the mountains," said the wizard. "And now by good management and by good luck I have done it. Indeed, we are now a good deal further east than I ever meant to come with you. For after all, this is not my adventure. I may look in on it again before it is all over, but in the meanwhile I have some other pressing business to attend to." The dwarves groaned and looked most distressed, and Bilbo wept. They had begun to think Gandalf was going to come all the way and will always be there to help them out of difficulty. "I am not going to disappear this very instant," said he. "I can give you a day or 2 more. Probably I can help you out of your present plight. And I need a little help myself. I have no food and no baggage, and no ponies to ride. And you don't know where you are. Now I can tell you that you are still some miles north of the path which should have been followed, if we had not left the mountain pines in a hurry. Very few people live in these parts, unless they have come here since I was last down this way, which is some years ago. But there is somebody that I know of who lives not far away. That somebody made the steps on the great rock, the Carrot, I believe he calls it. He does not come here often, certainly not in the daytime. It is no good waiting for him. In fact, it will be very dangerous. You must go and fight him, and if all goes well at our meeting, I think I shall be off and wish you like the eagles. Farewell wherever you fare." They begged him not to leave them. They offered him dragon gold and silver and jewels, but he would not change his mind. We shall see, he said. And I think I've earned already some of your dragon gold when you have got it. After that, they stopped pleading. Then they took off their clothes and bathed in the river, which was shallow and clear and stony at the ford. When they had dried in the sun, which was now strong and warm, they were refreshed, if still sore and a little hungry. Soon they crossed the ford, carrying the hobbit, and then began to march through the long green grass and down the lines of the wide-armed oaks and the tall elms. And why is it called the Carrock? Asked Bilbo as he went along at the wizard's side. He called it a Carrock because Carrock is his word for it. He calls things like that Carrocks, and this one is the Carrock because it's the only one near his home and he knows it well. Who calls it? Who knows it? That somebody I spoke of. A very great person. You must all be very polite when I introduce you. I shall introduce you slowly, two by two, I think. And you must be careful not to annoy him, or heaven knows what will happen. He can be appalling when he's hungry, though he's kind enough with humor. Still, I warn you, he gets angry easily. The dwarves all gathered around when they heard the wizard talking like this to Bilbo. Is that the person you are taking us to now? They asked. Couldn't you find someone more easy-tempered? Hadn't you better explain it all a bit clearer? And so on. Yes, it certainly is. No, I could not, and I'm explaining very carefully, answered the wizard crossly. If you must know more, his name is Bjorn. He's very strong, and he's a skin changer. What? A furrier? A man that calls rabbits ponies? When he doesn't turn their skins into squirrels, asked Bilbo. What? A furry? No, a furrier. A man that calls rabbits conies when he doesn't turn their skins into squirrels. Good gracious heavens! No, 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 said Gandalf. Don't be a fool, Mr. Baggins, if you can help it. And in the name of wonder, don't mention the word furrier again, as long as you are within 100 miles of his house. Nor rug, cape, tippet, muff, nor any other such unfortunate word. He's a skin changer. Changes his skin. Sometimes he's a huge black bear. Sometimes he's a great, strong, black-haired man with huge arms and a great beard. I cannot tell you much more, though that ought to be enough. Some say that he is a bear descendant from the great and ancient bears of the mountains that lived there before the giants came. Others say that he is a man descended from the first man who lived before Smaug, or the other dragons came into this part of the world, and before the goblins came into the hills out of the north. I cannot say, though I fancy the last is the true tale. He is not the sort of patient to ask questions, though. At any rate, he is under no enchantment but his own. He lives in an oak wood and has a great wooden house, and as a man he keeps cattle and horses, which are nearly as marvelous as himself. They work for him and talk to him. He does not eat them, neither does he hunt or eat wild animals. He keeps hives and hives of great fierce bees, and lives most on cream and honey. As a bear he ranges far and wide. I once saw him sitting all alone on the top of the Carrock at night, watching the moon sinking towards the misty mountain, and I heard him growl in the tongue of bears. The day will come when they will perish and I shall go back. That is why I believe he once came from the mountains himself. Bilbo and the dwarves now had plenty to think about, and they asked no more questions. They still had a long way to walk before them. Up slope and down dale they plodded. It grew very hot. Sometimes they rested under the trees, and then Bilbo felt so hungry that he could have eaten acorns, if any had been ripe enough yet to have fallen to the ground. It was the middle of the afternoon before they noticed that great patches of flowers had begun to spring up. all the same kinds growing together, as if they had been planted. Especially there was clover, waving patches of coxcomb clover, and purple clover, in wide stretches of short, white, sweet, honey-smelling clover. There was a buzzing and a whirring and a droning in the air. Bees were busy everywhere. And such bees! People have never seen anything like them. Short white clover. Short white clover. Oh. I thought three-leaf clover were like... No, this is clover flower. Let's see, clover, there's like the little plant which has no... Oh, it does have, the clover does have like a flower. Clover flower. Okay, they have flowers. They're kind of cute flower, the clover. Oh, I see. The famous three-leafed and four-leaf clovers, like just the petals. And then some of them give a bunch of flowers. That's cute. If one was to sting me, Bilbo thought, I should swell up as big again as I am. They are bigger than hornets. The drones are bigger than your thumb, a good deal, and the bands of yellow on their deep black bodies shone like fiery gold. We are getting near, said Gandalf. We are on the edge of his bee pastures. Damn, surviving only on honey and cream, doesn't sound so healthy. Where's the protein from? Cream, I guess? After a while, they came to a belt of tall and very ancient oaks, and beyond these to a high thorn hedge, through which you could neither see nor scramble. You had better wait here, said the wizard to the dwarves. And when I call or whistle, begin to come after me, you will see the way I go, but only in pairs, mind, about 5 minutes between each pair of you. Bombo is fastest and will do. Bombo is fattest and will do for two. Fattest. How do I pronounce it?
Fattest.
Fattest. And will do for do. He had better come along and last. Come on, Mr. Baggins. There's a gate somewhere around this way. And with that, he went off along the hedge, taking the frightened hobbit with him. They soon came to a wooden gate, high and broad, beyond which they could see gardens and a cluster of low wooden buildings. Some thatched and made of unshaped logs, barns, stables, sheds, and a long, low wooden house. Inside, on the southward side of the great hedge, were rows and rows of hives, with bell-shaped tops made of straw. The noises of the giant bees flying to and fro and crawling in and out filled all the air. The wizard and the hobbit pushed open the heavy creaking gate and went down a wide track towards the house. Some horses, very sleek and well-grown, trotted up across the grass and looked at them intently, with very intelligent faces. Then off they galloped to the buildings. They have gone to tell him of the arrival of strangers, said Gandalf. Soon they reached a courtyard, 3 walls of which were formed by the wooden house and its 2 long wings. In the middle there was laying a great oak trunk with many lopped branches beside it. Standing near was a huge man with a thick black beard and hair, and great black arms and legs with knotted muscles. He was clothed in a tunic of wool down to his knees and was leaning on a large axe. The horses were standing by him, with their noses at his shoulders. Here they are, he said to the horses. They don't look dangerous. You can be off. He laughed a great rolling laugh, putting down his axe and came forward. Who are you and what do you want? He asked gruffly, standing in front of them and towering tall above Gandalf. As for Bilbo, he could easily have trotted through his legs without ducking his head to miss the fringe of the man's brown tunic. I am Gandalf, said the wizard. Never heard of him, growled the man. And what's this little fellow? He said, stooping down to frown at the Hobbit with his bushy black eyebrows. That is Mr. Baggins, a Hobbit of good family and an unimpeachable reputation, said Gandalf. Bilbo bowed. He had no hat to take off, and was painfully conscious of his many missing buttons. I am a wizard, continued Gandalf. Have heard of you, if you have not heard of me. Or perhaps you have heard of my good cousin, Radagast, who lives near the southern borders of Mirkwood. Yes, not about the fellows as wizards go, I believe. I used to see him now and again, said Bjorn. Well, now I know who you are, or who you say you are. What do you want? To tell you the truth, we lost our luggage and nearly lost our way, and are rather in need of help, or at least of advice. I may say we have had rather bad time with goblins in the mountain. Goblins? Said the big man less gruffly. Oh, so you've been having trouble with them, have you? What did you go near them for? We did not mean to. They surprised us that night in a pass which we had to cross. We are coming out of the lands of the west into the countries. It is a long tale. Then you had better come inside and tell me some of it, if it won't take all day, said the man, leading the way through a dark door that opened out of the courtyard into the house. Following him, they found themselves in a wide hall with a fireplace in the middle. Though it was summer, there was a wood fire burning and the smoke was rising to the blackened rafters in search of the way out through an opening in the roof. They passed through this dim hall, lit only by the fire and the hole above it, and came through another smaller door into a sort of veranda, propped on wooden posts made of single tree trunks. Faced south and was still warm and filled with the light of the rustling sun, which slanted into it, and fell golden on the garden, full of flowers that came right up to the step. Oh, nice, a long house. Doesn't look like those Nordic long houses. With the fireplace like this, yeah. And why does it have so many stumps? Does it like get visitors? Any? Ever? Yeah, when does he ever get visitors? Here they sat on wooden benches while Gandalf began his tale, and Bilbo swung his dangly legs and looked at the flowers in the garden, wondering what their names could be, as he had never seen half of them before. I was coming over the mountains with a friend or two, said the wizard. Oh, two? I can see only one, and a little one at that, said Bjorn. But to tell you the truth, I didn't like to bother with a lot of us, until I found out if you're busy. I will give a call if I may. Go on, call away! So Gandalf gave a long, shrill whistle, and presently Thorin and Dori came round the house by the garden path and stood bowing low before them. 1 or 3 you meant, I see, said Bjorn. But these aren't hobbits, they're dwarves. Dori Oakenshield, at your service. Dori, at your service, said the two dwarves, bowing again. At your service, thank you, said Bjorn. But I expect you need mine. I am not over fond of dwarves. But if it's true you're Thorin, son of Thrain, son of Thror, I believe, and that your companion is respectable, and that you are enemies of goblins are not up to any mischief in my lands. What are you up to, by the way? They are on the way to visit the lands of their fathers, away east beyond Mirkwood, putting Gandalf. It is entirely an accident that we are in your land at all. We are crossing by the high pass that should have brought us to the road that lies to the south of your country, when we were attacked by the evil goblins, as I was about to tell you. Go on telling them, said Bjorn, who was never very polite. That was a terrible storm. Stone giants were out hurling rocks. Yet at the head of the pass, we took refuge in a cave. The Hobbit and I and several of our companions. Do you count you several? Well, no. As a matter of fact, there are more than two. Were you killed? Killed? Eaten? Gone home? Well, no. You don't seem out to have come when I whistled. I expect. You see, we're very much afraid that we are rather a lot for you to entertain. Go on, whistle again. I mean, for a party, it seems. And one or two more won't make much a difference, growled Bjorn. Gandalf whistled again, but Nori and Nori were there almost before he had stopped. For if you remember, Gandalf have told them to come in pairs every 5 minutes. Hello, Dark Chaos 15. I see a cutie. They call Dark Chaos. Have a happy lurk, friend. No, said Bjorn. You came pretty quick. Where are you hiding? Come on, my jack-in-the-boxes. Nori, at your service. Ori at... They began, but Bjorn interrupted. Thank you. When I want your help, I will ask for it. Sit down and let's get on with this tale, or it'll be super time before it is ended. As soon as we are asleep, went on Gandalf. A crack at the back of the cave opened. Goblins came out and grabbed the Hobbit and the dwarves and our troop of ponies. Troop of ponies? What were you, a Japanese circus? Or were you carrying lots of goods? Do you always call 6 a troop? Oh no, as a matter of fact there are more than 6 bunny, but there are more than 6 of us, and well, here are 2 more. Just at a moment, Bally and Walling appeared and bowed, so low that the bears swept the stone floor. The big man was crawling at first, but they did their best to be fretfully polite, and kept on nodding and bending and bowing, and waving their hoods before their knees, in proper dwarf fashion. Till he stopped frowning and burst into a chuckling laugh. They looked so comical. Trip was right, he said, a fine comic one. Come in, my merry men, and what about your names? I don't want your service just now, on your names, and then sit down and stop wagging. Bally and Walling, they say, not daring to be offended, and sat flat on the floor, looking rather surprised. Surprise. Ad breaking progress. Okay, it's time to rest my throat for like 3 minutes and stretch. You guys in a moment. Alright, we're back. Man, I need to stretch and jiggle. I was in a bad posture. My back is killing me. So I need to improve my my different voices. I need to train my voice, you know. It'll be nice. It'll be a good practice to train it. Which is why I'm doing this reading streams. Practice my reading. To practice my voice. To practice making different funny voices. Oh god, my back. I was in a bad posture. I was doing a bad posture before I start the stream. So now I'm feeling it bother me a little bit. And yesterday I exercised too. I'm also feeling my muscles to be tired. I'm also feeling my muscles tired. Yeah. Oops. Now, I need to actually practice how I do this. Rough voice, it's a bit paining my throat. I need to do it in a bit of different way. See. Bolly and Wally. Bolly and Wally. Yeah, I need to go deeper instead of Bolly and Wally. I need to be Bolly and Wally. Now, let me think again. I almost drank a whole cup already, damn. I'm drinking a lot today. Wait, where was actually? Looks so comical. Droop was right, he said. A fine comic one. Call me my merry man. You want your names. I don't want your service just now. Only your names. And then sit down and stop wagging. Yeah, not sit down. Sit down and stop wagging. Actually force my voice should be lower and deeper into my chest. Balling and dwarfing, and they said Finn and sat on the floor looking rather surprised. No, go on again, said Bjorn. No, go no. No, I'm trying to make him sound like rough and gruff. But just low is not enough. There needs to be a gruffness. No, go on again, said Bjorn to the wizard. Where was I? Oh yes, I was not grabbed. I killed a goblin or two with a flash. Good, growled Bjorn. It is some good being a wizard then. And slipping inside the crack. Before it closed, I followed down into the main hall, which was crowded with goblins. The great goblin was there with 30 or 40 armed guards. I thought to myself, even if they were not all chained together, what can a dozen do against so many? A dozen? That's the first time I've heard it called a dozen. Or have you still got some more jacks that haven't yet come out of their boxes? Well, yes. There seem to be a couple more here now. Billy and Killy, I believe, said Gandalf, as the two now appeared and stood smiling and bound. That's enough, said Bjorn. Sit down and be quiet. Now go on, Gandalf. So Gandalf went on with the tale until he came to the fight in the dark, the discovery of the lower gate, and their horror when they found that Mr. Baggins had been mislaid. We counted ourselves and found that there was no Hobbit. There was only 14 of us left. 14? That's the first time I heard one from 10, only 14. You mean 9? Or else you haven't told me that all the names of your party. Well, of course you haven't seen Owen and Glowing yet. And bless me, here they are. I hope you forgive them for bothering you. Oh, let them all up. Come, hurry up. Come along, you two, and sit down. But look here, Gandalf. Even now, we have only got yourselves and then dwarves and the Hobbit that was lost. That only makes 11. Plus 1 mislaid. And not 14. Unless wizards count differently to other people. But now, please get on with the tale. Bjorn did not show it more than he could help, but he had begun to get very interested. You see, in the old days, he had known the very part of the mountains that Gandalf was describing. He nodded and he groaned when he heard of the hobbit's reappearance, and of their scramble down the stone slide, and of the wolf ring in the woods. And when Gandalf came to their climbing into trees with the wolves all underneath, he got up and strutted about and muttered, "I wish I had been there. I'd have given them more than fireworks." "Well," said Gandalf, "I'm very glad to see that this was making a good impression. I did best I could. There we were with the wolves going mad underneath us, and the forest beginning to blaze in places. When the goblins came down from the hills and discovered us, they yelled with delight and sang songs making fun of us. 15 birds in 5 fir trees. Good heavens, growled Bjorn. Don't pretend the goblins can't count. They can. 12 isn't 15 and they know it. And so do I. There were Bilbo and Bofur as well. Haven't ventured to introduce them before, but here they are. In came Bilbo and Bofur. And me! Gasped Bumper, puffing up behind. He was fat, and also angry at being left till last. He refused to wait 5 minutes, and followed immediately after the other two. Well, now there are 15 of you. And since goblins can't count, I suppose that it's all that they were up the trees. Now perhaps we can finish the story without any more interrupting. Mr. Baggins saw then how clever Gandalf had been. The interruptions had really made Bjorn more interested in the story, and the story had kept him from sending the dwarves off at once like suspicious beggars. He never invited people into his house if he could help it. He had very few friends, and they lived a good way away, and he never invited more than a couple of these to his house at a time. Now he had got 15 strangers sitting in his porch. By the time the wizard had finished his tale and had told the eagles rescued and how they had all been brought to the Carrock, the sun had fallen behind the peaks of the misty mountains, and the shadows were longing beyond garden. A very good tale, it seemed. The best I have heard for a long while. If all beggars could tell such a good one, they might find me kinder. You may be making it all up, of course. We just have a supper, but it's sorry all the same. Let's have something to eat. Yes, please, they all said together. Thank you very much. Inside the home, it was now quite dark. Bjorn clapped his hand, and in trotted 4 beautiful white ponies and several large, long-bodied grey dogs. Bjorn said something to them in a queer language, like animal noises turning to talk. They went out again, and soon came back carrying torches in their mouths, which they lit at the fire and stuck in low brackets on the pillars of the wall about the central hearth. The dogs could stand on their hind legs when they wished, and carry things with their 4 feet. Quickly they got out boards and trestles from the side walls and set them up near the fire. The dogs could stand on their hind legs when they wished and carry things with their 4 feet? Now that is an interesting image. Then bah, bah, bah was heard, and in came some snow-white ship led by a large coal-black ram. One bore a white clock embroidered at the edges with figures of animals. Other bore on their broad backs trays with bowls and platters, and knives and wooden spoons, which the dogs took and quickly laid on the trestle tables. These were very low enough even for Bilbo to sit at comfortably. Beside them, a pony pushed 2 low-seated benches with side rush buttons and little short tic-tacs for Gandalf and Thorin. While at the far end, he put Bjorn's big black chairs of the same sort, in which he sat with his great legs stuck far out under the table. These were all the chairs he had in his hall, and he probably had them low like the tables for the convenience of the wonderful animals that waited on him. What did the rest sit on? They were not forgotten. The other ponies came in rolling round drum-shaped sections of lawns, smoothed and polished, and low enough even for Bilbo. So soon they were all seated at Bjorn's table, and the hall had not seen such a gathering for many a years. There they had a supper or a dinner, such as they had not had since they left the last homely house in the west, and said goodbye to Arrow. The light of the torches and the fire flickered about them, and on the table were 2 tall red beeswax candles. All the time they ate, Bjorn in his deep rolling voice told tales of the wild lands on this side of the mountain, especially of the dark and dangerous wood that lay outstretched far to the north and south, a day's ride before them, bearing their way to the east, the terrible forest of Mirkwood. The dwarves listened and shook their head. The dwarves listened. How do I pronounce this properly?
Listened.
The dwarves listened and shook their beards, for they knew that they must soon venture into that forest, and that after the mountains it was the worst of the perils they had to pass before they came to the dragon's stronghold. When dinner was over, they began to tell tales of their own, but Bjorn seemed to be growing drowsy and paid little heed to them. They spoke most of gold and silvers and jewels and the making of things by smithcraft, and Bjorn did not appear to care for such things. There are no things of gold or silver in his hall, and few save the knives were made of metal alone. They sat long at the table with their wooden drinking bowls filled with mead. The dark night came on outside. The fires in the middle of the hall were built with fresh logs, and the torches were put out. And still they sat in the light of the dancing flames with the pillars of the houses standing tall behind them, and dark at the top like trees of the forest. Whether it was magic or not, it seemed to Bilbo that he heard a sound like wind in the branches, stirring the rafters, and the hoot of owls. Soon he began to nod with sleep, and the voices seemed to grow far away until he woke with a start. The great door had creaked and slammed. Bjorn was gone. The dwarves were sitting cross-legged on the floor around the fire, and presently they began to sing. Some of the verses were like this, but there were many more, and their singing went on for a long while. The wind was on the withered heath, but in the forest stirred no leaf. The shadows lay by day and night, and dark things silent crept beneath. The wind came down from mountains cold, and like a tide it roared and rolled. The branches groaned, the forest moaned, and leaves were laid upon them all. The wind went on from west to east, all movement in the forest ceased, but shrill and harsh across the marsh, its whistling voices were released. The grasses hissed, the tassels bent, the reeds were rattling, on it went. Over shaken pool under heaven's cool, where racing clouds were torn and rent. He passed the lonely mountain back, and swept above the dragon's lair. Then black and dark lay boulders stark, and flying smoke was in the air. He left the world and took its flight over the wide seas of the night. The moon set sail upon the gale, and stars were found to leap in light. Bilbo began to nod again. Suddenly up stood Gandalf. "It is time for us to sleep," he said. "For us, but not, I think, for Bjorn. And that's how he can rest sound and safe. But I warn you all not to forget what Bjorn said before he left us. You You must not stray outside until the sun is up, on your peril. Bilbo found the beds had already been laid at the side of the hall, on a sort of raised platform between the pillars and the outer wall. For him, there was a little mattress of straw and woolen blankets. He snuggled into them very gladly. Summer time though it was. The fire burned low and he fell asleep. Yet in the night he woke. The fire had now sunk to a few embers. The dwarfs were all asleep, judged by their breathing. A flash of white on the floor came from the high moon, which was peering down through the smoke hole in the roof. There was a growling sound outside, and a noise as of some great animal scuffling at the door. People wondered what it was, and whether it could be Bjorn in enchanted shape, and if he could come in as a bear and kill them. He dived under the banklets and hid his head, and fell asleep again, at least in spite of his fear. It was full morning when he awoke. One of the dwarves had fallen over him in the shadows where he lay, and had rolled down with a bump from the platform onto the floor. He was baleful, and he was grumbling about it, when Bilbo opened his eye. "Get up, lazy bones," he said, "or there'll be no breakfast left for you." Up jumped Bilbo. "Breakfast!" he cried. "Where is breakfast?" "Mostly inside us," answered the other dwarves who were moving about the hall. "What is left is out on the veranda. We have been about looking for Bjorn ever since the sun got up. There's no sign of him anywhere, though we found breakfast laid as soon as we went out." "Where's Gandalf?" asked Bilbo, moving off to find something to eat as quick as he could. "Oh, out and about somewhere," they told him. We saw no sign of the wizard all that day until the evening. Just before sunset, he walked into the hall, where the Hobbit and the dwarves were having supper, waited on by Bjorn's wonderful animals, as they had been all day. Of Bjorn, they had seen and heard nothing since the night before, and they were getting puzzled. "Where is our host? Where have you been all day yourself?" they all cried. "One question at a time, and not until after supper. I haven't had a bite since breakfast." At last, Gandalf pushed away his plate and jug. He had eaten 2 whole loaves, with masses of butter and honey and clotted cream, and drunk at least a quarter of mead. And he took out his pipe. "I will answer the second question first," he said. "Well, bless me, this is a splendid place for smoke rings." Indeed, for a long time they could get nothing more out of him. He was so busy sending smoke rings dodging around the pillars of the hall, plunging them into all sorts of different shapes and colors, and setting them at last chasing one another out of the hole in the roof. They must have looked very queer from outside, hopping out into the air one after another. Green, blue, red, silver gray, yellow, white. Big ones, little ones. Little ones dodging through big ones and joining into figure eights, and going off like a flock of birds into the distance. "I've been picking out the bear track," he said at last. "There must have been a regular bears meeting outside here last night. I soon saw that Bjorn could not have made them all. There are far too many of them, and they are of various sizes too. I should say there are little bears, large bears, ordinary bears, and gigantic big bears, all dancing outside from dark to nearly dawn. They came from almost every direction, except from the west of the river, from the mountain. In that direction, only one set of footprints led, none coming, only ones going away from here. I followed these as far as the Carrack. There they disappeared into the river, but the water was too deep and strong beyond the rock for me to cross. It is easy enough, as you remember, to get from this bank to the Carrack by the ford, but on the other side is a cliff, standing up from a swirling channel. I had to walk miles before a place where the river was wide and shallow enough for me to wade and swim, and then miles back again to pick up the tracks again. By that time, it was too late for me to follow them far. They went straight off in the direction of the pine woods on the east side of the Misty Mountain. where we had our pleasant little party with the wargs the night before last. You know, I think I've answered your first question too, ended Gandalf, and he sat a long while silent. Bilbo thought he knew what the wizard meant. What shall we do? He cried. What if he leads all the wargs and goblins down here? We shall be caught and killed. I thought you said he was not a friend of theirs. So I did, and don't be silly. You had better go to bed. Your wits are sleepy. The Hobbit felt quite crushed, and as there seemed nothing else to do, he did go to bed. While the dwarves were still singing songs, he dropped asleep, still puzzling his little head about beyond, till he dreamed a dream of hundreds of black bears dancing slowly, happy dances round and round in the moonlight in the courtyard. Then he woke up when everyone else was asleep, and he heard the same scraping, scuffling, snuffling, and growling as before. Next morning, they were all wakened by Bjorn himself. So, here you are all still. So here you all are still, he said. Pick up the Hobbit and laughed. Not eaten up by wargs or goblins or wicked bears yet, I see. And he poked Mr. Baggins' waistcoat most disrespectfully. Little bunny is getting nice and fat again on bread and honey, he chuckled. Come and have some more. So they all went to breakfast with him. Bjorn was most jolly for a change. Indeed, he seemed to be in a splendidly good humor, and set them all laughing with his funny stories. Nor did they have to wonder long where he had been, why he was so nice to them, for he told them himself. He had been over the river and right back up into the mountains, from which you can guess that he could travel quickly, in bare shape at any rate. From the burnt wolf glade he had soon found out that part of their story was true, but he had found more than that. He had caught a warg and a goblin wandering the woods. From these he had got news. The goblins were still hunting with wargs for the dwarves, and they were fiercely angry because of the death of the great goblin, and also because of the burning of the sheep-wolf's nose, and the death from the wizard's fire of many of his chief servants. So much they told him when he forced them, but he guessed there was more wickedness than does afoot, and that a great raid of the whole goblin army with their wolf allies into the lands shadowed by the mountains might soon be made to find the dwarves, or to take revengeance on the men and creatures that lived there, and who they thought must be sheltering them. It was good story that of yours, said Bjorn, but I like it still better, now that I'm sure it is true. You must forgive me. You must forgive my not taking your word. If you live near the edge of Mirkwood, you take the word of no one that you did not know as well as your brother about her. As it is, I can only say that I've hurried home as fast as I could to see that you are safe, and to offer you any help that I can. I shall think more kindly of dwarves. After this, kill the great goblin. Kill the great goblin. He chuckled fiercely to himself. What did you do with the goblin and the warg? Asked Bilbo suddenly. Come and see, said Bjorn, and they followed around the house. A goblin's head was stuck outside the gate, and a warg's skin was nailed to a tree just beyond. Bjorn was a fierce enemy, but now he was their friend, and Gandalf thought it wise to tell him their whole story and the reason of their journey, so that they could get the most help he could offer. This is what he promised to do for them. He would provide ponies for each of them, and a horse for Gandalf, for their journey to the forest, and he would lay them with food to last them for weeks with care, and packed so as to be as easy as possible to carry. Nuts, flour, few jars of dried fruit, red earthenware pots of honey, and twice baked cakes that would keep good a long time, and on a little of which they could march far. The making of these was one of his secrets. Honey was in them, as in most of his foods, and they were good to eat, though they made one thirsty. Water, he said, they would need not carry it, They would not need to carry this side of the forest, for there were streams and springs along the road. But your way through the Mirkwood is dark, dangerous, and difficult, he said. Water is not easy to find here. There. No food. The time is not yet come for nuts. So it may be past and gone indeed before you get to the other side. And nuts are about all the girls there fit for food. In the white things are dark, queer, and savage. I will provide you with skins for carrying water, and I will give you some bows and arrows. But I doubt very much whether anything you find in Mirkwood will be wholesome to eat or to drink. There is one stream there, I know, black and strong, which crosses the path, that you should neither drink of nor bathe in. For I have heard that it carries enchantment and a great drowsiness and forgetfulness. And in the dim shadows of that place, I don't think you should anything, wholesome or unwholesome, without straying from the path. That you must not do for any reason. This is all the advice I can give you. Beyond the edge of the forest, I cannot help you much. You must depend on your luck and your courage, and the food I send with you. At the gate of the forest, I must ask you to send back my horse and my ponies. But I wish you all speed, and my house is open to you, if ever you come back this way again. They thanked him, of course, with many bows and sweepings of their hoods, and with many at your service, O master, the wide wooden house. But their spirits sank at his grave words, and they all felt that the adventure was far more dangerous than they had thought. All the time, even if they passed all the perils of the road, the dragon was awaiting at the end. All that morning, they were busy with preparations. Soon after midday, they ate with Bjorn for the last time, and after the meal, they mounted the steeds he was leading them, and bidding him with many farewells, they rode off through his gate at a good pace. As soon as they left his high hedges at the east of the Sphinx lands, they turned north and then bore to the northwest. By his advice, they were no longer making for the main forest road to the south of his land. Had they followed the path would have led them down a stream from the mountains that joined the great rivers miles south of the Carrot. At that point, there was a deep ford which they might have passed if they still had their ponies, and beyond that, a track led to the skirts of the wood and to the entrance of the old forest road. But Bjorn had warned them that way was now often used by the goblins, while the forest road itself, he had heard, was overgrown and disused at the eastern end and led to impassable marshes, where the paths had long been lost. Its eastern opening had always been far to the south of the Lonely Mountain, and would have left them still with a long and difficult northward march when they got to the other side. North of the Carrack, the edge of Mirkwood drew closer to the borders of the great river, and though here the mountains too drew down nearer, Bjorn advised them to take this way, for at a place a few days' ride due north of the Carrack was the gate of a little known pathway through Mirkwood that led almost straight towards the Lonely Mountain. The goblins, Bjorn said, they will not dare to cross the great river, 100 miles north of the Carrot, nor to come near my house. It is well protected at night, but I should ride fast, for if they make their raid soon, they will cross the river to the south and scour all the edge of the forest so as to cut you off. And wargs run swifter than ponies. Still, you are safer going north, even though you seem to be going back nearer to their strongholds. For that is what they would least expect, and they will have the longer ride to catch you. Be off now, as quick as you may. That is why they were now riding in silence, galloping wherever the ground was grassy and smooth, with the mountains dark on their left, and in the distance the line of the river with its trees drawing ever closer. The sun had only just turned west when they started. Until evening it lay golden on the land about them. It was difficult to think of pursuing goblins behind, and when they had put many miles between them and Bjorn's house, they began to talk and to sing again, and to forget the dark forest path they lay through. But in the evening, when the dusk came on, and the peaks of the mountains glowered against the sunset, they made a camp, set a guard, and most of them slept uneasily, with dreams in which there came the howl of hunting wolves and the cries of goblins. Till the next morning dawned bright and fair again. There was an autumn-like mist white upon the ground, and the air was chill. But soon the sun rose red in the east, and the mists vanished. And while the shadows were still long, they were off again. So they rode now for 2 more days, and all the while they saw nothing save grass and flowers and birds and scattered trees, and occasionally small herds of red deer browsing or sitting at noon in the shade. Sometimes Bilbo saw the horns of the harts sticking up out of the long grass, and at first he thought they were the dead branches of trees. The third evening they were so eager to press on, for Bjorn had said that they should reach the forest gate early on the 4th day, that they rode still forward after dusk, and into the night beneath the moon. As the light faded, Bilbo thought he saw away to the right, or to the left, the shadowy form of a great bear prowling along in the same direction. But if he dared to mention it to Gandalf, the wizard only said, "Hush! Take no notice." Next day, they started before dawn. Though their night might have been short, as soon as it was light, they could see the forest coming as it were to meet them, or waiting for them like a black, frowning wall between them. The land began to slope up and up, and it seemed to the Hobbit that a silence began to draw in upon them. Birds began to sing less. There were no more deer, not even rabbits were to be seen. By the afternoon they had reached the eaves of Mirkwood, and were resting almost beneath the great overhanging boughs of its outer trees. Their trunks were huge and gnarled, their branches twisted, their leaves were dark and long, ivy grew on them and trailed along the ground. "Well, here is Mirkwood," said Gandalf, "the greatest of the forests of the northern world. I hope you like the look of it. Now you must send back these excellent ponies you have borrowed." The dwarves were inclined to grumble at this, but the wizard told them they were fools. "Bjorn is not as far off as you seem to think, and you had better keep your promises anyway, for he is a bad enemy. Mr. Baggins' eyes are sharper than yours. If you had not seen each night after dark a great bear going along with us, or sitting far off in the moon watching your camps, not only to guard you and guide you, but to keep an eye on the ponies too. Bjorn may be your friend, or he loves his animals as his children. You do not guess what kindness he has shown you in letting dwarves ride them so far and so fast, nor what will happen to you if you try to take them into the forest." "Where about the horse then?" said Thorin. "You don't mention sending him back." "I don't, because I am not sending it." "What about your promise then?" "I will look after that. I am not sending the horse back. I am riding it." Then they knew that Gandalf was going to leave them at the very edge of Mirkwood, and they were in despair. But nothing they could say would change his mind. "Now, we had this all out before, when we landed on the Carrack," he said. "It is no use arguing. I have, as I told you, some pressing business away south, and am I already late through bothering with you people? We may meet again before all is over, and then again, of course, we may not. That depends on your luck and your courage and sense. And I am sending Mr. Baggins with you. I have told you before that he has more about him than you guess, and you'll find that out before long. So cheer up, Bilbo. and don't look so glum. Cheer up, Thorin and company. This is your expedition after all. Think of the treasure at the end, and forget the forest and the dragon. At any rate, until tomorrow morning. When tomorrow morning came, he still said the same. So now there was nothing left to do but to fill their water skins at the clear spring they found close to the forest gate and unpack the ponies. They distributed the packages as fairly as they could, though Bilbo thought his lot was worrisomely heavy and did not like the idea of trudging for miles and miles without that on his back. Don't you worry, said Thorin. It'll get lighter all too soon. Before long, I expect we shall all wish our packs heavier when the food begins to run short. Then at last they said goodbye to their ponies and turned their heads for home. Off they trotted gaily. Okay, let's read this one again. Off they trotted gaily, seeming very glad to put their tails towards the shadow of Mirkwood. As they went away, Bilbo could have sworn that a thing like a bear left the shadow of the trees and shambled off quickly after them. Now Gandalf too said farewell. Bilbo sat on the ground feeling very unhappy and wished he was beside the wizard on his tall horse. He had gone just inside the forest after breakfast, a very poor one, and it had seemed as dark in there in the morning as at night, and very secret. A sort of watching and waiting feeling, he said to himself. Oh yeah, music is over. Let's go to the first part of the soundtrack. Now we go. Now these are the songs that I love and recognize. Goodbye, said Gandalf to Thorin, and goodbye to you all. Goodbye, straight to the forest. It's your way now. Don't stray off the track. If you do, it is 1,000 to 1 you'll never find it again and never get out of Mirkwood. And then I don't suppose I, or anyone else, will ever see you again. Do you really have to go through? Groaned the Hobbit. Yes, you do, said the wizard. If you want to get to the other side, you must either go through or give up your quest. And I am not going to allow you to go back now, Mr. Baggins. I am ashamed of you for thinking of it. You have got to look after all these dwarfs for me, you know. No, said Bilbo. I didn't mean that. I mean, is there no way around? There is, if you care to go 200 miles or so out of your way north, and twice that south. But you wouldn't get a safe path even then. There are no safe paths in this part of the world. Remember, you are over the edge of the wild now, and in all sorts of fun wherever you go. Before you can get round Mirkwood in the north, you'll be right among the slope of the Grey Mountains. And they are simply stiff with goblins, hobgoblins, and works of the worst description. Hello, readers! Wait, shit! No,
welcome,
there
delightful raiders from Pexastar VT. Join us on a journey filled with temptation and pleasure as we weave unforgettable experiences together. Let the raid be a delightful escapade in the realm of desires.
Welcome to the realm of Grammary, Pexas. Hello! I got to go have dinner ready. Have a nice stream. Okay, thank you for the raid, Pexa. We're doing some cute, gentle, soft reading today. A comfy little time, and I hope you have a nice meal. I am actually straining my throat slightly bit by trying to do voices, but it's fun, and it doesn't last long, so it is a good training for my voice acting skills, which one day might be worth something. One day I might actually learn voice acting skills worth something. What are you doing? Let's see. Persona 5 Royal. Oh, I see. Personal problems arrive. New outfit 55% done. Nice. That's halfway point of your outfit. I've only played like Persona 3. Wait, what's Persona 3 or 4? What's Persona 4? Persona 4. Yeah, I only played a little bit of Persona 4. I only watched Persona 5. Yeah, I'm halfway a long time. I know the feeling. I know the feeling. Sometimes you just need a break and then until motivation comes back. But yes. Go get your dinner, Queen. Go get your dinner. Go get your hoodies and EPs. We'll be here. Okay, bye-bye. Bye! We'll be here reading for at least another hour. An hour and 23 minutes. Because... 23? 13 minutes. An hour and 30 minutes. Damn, I'm bad at math. Because these things only do like for 3 hours at most. Cannot stream my turn. But yes. We are having... Gandalf said goodbye. Gandalf the daddy. Gandalf the Marisu. Gandalf the savior. Gandalf the mentor figure is finally leaving the dwarves behind after the dwarves and Bilbo behind after saving them like 2 or 3 times already, I guess. Yeah, at least 3 times, 3 distinct times he saved them. So maybe it's time now for some character development from them. So they now have to solve their problems on their own without the big good wizard to save their asses. And from pages we're like page 123 out of 270, so we're reaching the midpoint, really. Reaching the midpoint. Story's gonna take a turn. That's interesting. At least I do believe story's gonna take a turn. Anyway, good. Oh shit! I lost exactly where I was. No, I read this part. Goodbye, thinking of tutoring. There is, if you... I didn't mean that. I mean, is there no way around? Said Bilbo. They're about to enter Mirkwood, which is a very dark and scary forest. Scary. And they kinda don't want to go through it, but since they're being chased by goblins, evil goblins who want to kill them, and Rector they are actually just gonna go through Mirkwood because it's better than going around. And there is, if you care to go 200 miles south or so out of your way, note and twice that south. But you wouldn't get a safe path. Even then, there are no safe paths in this part of the world. Remember, you are over the edge of the wild now, and in for all sorts of fun wherever you go. Before you could get round Mirkwood in the north, you'd be right among the slopes of the Great Mountain. And they are simply stiff with goblins, hobgoblins and orcs of the worst description. Before you could get round it in the south, you get into the lands of the necromancer. And even you, Bilbo, won't need me to tell you tales of that black sorcerer. Dog! Hello, Pantsu. How you doing today? How you doing today? I'm just gonna finish this page and then I'm gonna grab some water. I ran out. I just drank like a full 200 milliliters cup of water. And I need to keep my throat wet and moist. Just woke up from a nap. Oh, that's cute. I hope that was a good nap. Did you dream of something, Cutie? Did you dream of something? I usually dream when I have nappies, which is why I used to enjoy having naps. But they do get in the way of my productivity because I get like drowsy, and then I don't feel tired and I go to sleep late. So I ended up stopping doing naps. I need to do like very short naps, like just 30 minutes or something. But whenever I do have some like more vivid dreams. And I'm a dreamer. I am an escapist dreamer, so I do need my nappies. I do enjoy my nappies. Anyway, let me clear my throat. Yeah. Moving on. I don't advise you to go anywhere near the places overlooked by his dark tower. Stick to the forest track. Keep your spirits up. Hope for the best. And with a tremendous slice of luck, you may come out one day and see the long marches lying below you, and beyond them, high in the east, the lonely mountain where dear old Smog lives, so I hope he's not expecting you. Very comforting you are, to be sure, groaned Thorin. Goodbye. You won't come with us? You had better get off without any more talk. Look at Tsundere. What at Tsundere? Goodbye then, and ready. Goodbye, said Gandalf. And he turned his horse and rode down into the west. But he could not resist the temptation to have the last word. Before he had passed quite out of hearing, he turned and put his hands to his mouth and called to them. They heard his voice come faintly. Goodbye. Be good. Take care of yourselves. And don't leave the path. Then he galloped away and was soon lost to sight. A goodbye and go away. Oh, goodbye and go away, grunted the dwarves, all the more angry because they were really filled with dismay at losing him. Now began the most dangerous part of all the journey. They each shouldered the heavy bag, the heavy pack, and the water skin which was their share, and turned from the light that lay on this land outside and plunged into the forest. Chapter 8. Flies and spiders. Flies and spiders, but I'm gonna take a quick break. Just gonna run the ads now. And I need wonder and I need stretch and I need a rest for my throat. Be right back, 3 minutes. Yeah, right. We are in the last hour. Well, 2 minutes for like minutes and 30 for the last hour because we're doing the breaks a little early, but yeah. Last part of the stream is starting up. Let's see, I am in a bad. I am having like discomfort on my hips from a bad posture earlier today. That is kind of unfortunate. I'm gonna have to like. Good thing that I'm doing these breaks to rest and stretch. Otherwise, I'll be in quite a lot of pain right now. Just a bit of discomfort. Yeah. Yeah, I do have like a pillow on my back just to. Thank you for the hand patties, Benson. I do have a pillow just to improve my posture, but sometimes even then I just say fuck it and shrimp up. And that has consequences because I'm not a young doggo who can just stay at any posture. Stay at any posture. I need to actually be careful with these sort of things. Yeah, I'm just stalling a little bit. I'm wanting to play this is a game. This is the soundtrack of my favorite game, Against the Storm. Yeah, I'm wanting to play it like off stream. I wonder if I should because maybe there's like because the game gets harder and it's kind of nice to just show the evolution of my skills. But I'm kind of missing it. I wanted to play it like off stream. Or maybe I should just stream more. Just stream more, whatever. Yeah. I shouldn't stream more. I already played too much. I already streamed too much. Anyway, let's start the chapter. Anyway. Hello, Bunkan. I see a cute spinning. I'm gonna soon make another. I'm gonna try to make a dance emote. What's it called? Hang on. Yeah. Hang on, is there an emote about this? Story recap. Okay, story recap. There's the dwarfs. The dwarfs have lost their homeland to... The dwarfs have lost their homeland to a dragon. A dragon, small. A new dragon has taken over their homeland for like a few generations ago. And now a group of them has united and decided that they want to retake that land from Smog. And because of that, they hired Gandalf, who has brought in Bilbo as the rogue, as the burglar, as the little sneaky one to help them. Bilbo is very against. Bilbo is actually was very against that dance, but he also has part of he also has how do you say it? Half of his blood, half of his genes come from a family of adventurous hobbits. So while he hates it as much as he does, while he hates the idea of going on a journey, he still can't stop himself because it's part of his nature. It's still part of his nature. So he reluctantly joins their party. They start off going on a journey full of ponies, full of joy, singing about adventure. And the mood starts to go down as they face a lot of bad weather. They're traveling on horses without umbrellas, so when he rains, they fucking get wrecked. And at one point, they enter the Lonely Mountain. The Lonely Mountain? Yeah, the Lonely Mountain. And the storm was so bad. There was a bad storm, and it was actually made worse because there were giants. They were giants, or maybe big rock dudes throwing rocks at each other and fighting. Oh, I already forgot one point. Before that, they met with trolls. They had a very interesting encounter with trolls. They wanted some shelter for the night, and Gandalf was nowhere nearby to tell the young children to not talk to stranger. So Bilbo went by. So they decided to tell Bilbo, to have Bilbo explore the little flame in the middle of the wilderness, which is rather suspicious. And Bilbo found trolls over there. Trolls may be dumb, but they're also quite sharp in the sense of fighting and killing and ambushing. So the trolls end up ambushing the dwarves one by one. When they almost killed the dwarves, but Gandalf, the savior, the hero of the story, mimics the voices of the trolls, so they start fighting each other because in this manner they are dumb. Mimics the voices of the trolls so that he pits the trolls against each other and they keep arguing and fighting each other until dawn rises. And due to the folklore of the trolls, if they are hit by sunlight, they're turned to stone, and so they were defeated. After that, they continue on their journey, and they meet with they get caught in the storm, which is made worse by the giants throwing rocks at each other. So they hide into a very far away and very cozy looking cave. Except that this cave was the entrance to a goblin stronghold. So they're all captured, except for Gandalf again, the Mary Sue. Gandalf manages to evade capture. And as the dwarves and the Hobbit, as the dwarves and Bilbo are brought back to the leader of the goblins, Gandalf casts the spell. What does the spell do? It does something like sparkles or something like that. It creates chaos, lots of chaos, then that blinds the goblins. So Gandalf appears. He and Thorin, the leader of the dwarves, quickly slay the leader of the goblins, and then everyone runs away. Unfortunately, dwarves are not very fast, and goblins are very fast. So as they are running away into the caves without barely any equipment, the goblins catch up to the dwarves, and Bilbo, who's being carried because he's even slower than everyone else, he ends up slipping and falling and hitting his head. But because he's like so small and it was so dark, nobody finds him. So Bilbo wakes up in the darkness of the goblin tunnels, and he just starts aimlessly wandering about until he reaches the very bottom of the caves of the Lonely Mountain. Misty Mountains? Or is it Misty Mountains or Lonely Mountains? I think it is Misty Mountains. Lonely Mountain is something else. Whatever, doesn't matter. Lonely Mountain is Mog's home, yeah, that's their target. Misty Mountains is the place where they were. So he reaches the bottom of the Misty Mountains, and there he finds the curious little creature. He finds Gollum. Gollum is very fond of riddles, and he wants to eat Bilbo. But Bilbo kinda cheats, kinda outwits Gollum, and he ends up also finding the ring just by chance. And after Gollum is a sore loser, so after losing the Battle of Wits, he tries to stop Bilbo from leaving, but Bilbo has the ring, and the ring makes him invisible. So he just puts on the ring and follows Gollum. Oh, then realizes he has the ring, but Gollum cannot fight the goblins, so Bilbo just slipped past Gollum sleep past the goblins, and finds himself and finds the other dwarves again, and Gandalf, who have managed to leave the Misty Mountains, escape the goblin stronghold in the Misty Mountains. After that, they get chased by wargs, who are allies of the goblins, and they get cornered and to the point they have to climb on trees to escape the wolves. And the eagles, the big famous eagles, see the commotion going on downstairs. They're like, yeah, fuck you dwarves, no, fuck you goblins, fuck you wargs, we're gonna steal your prey from you. And they save Gandalf and the dwarves and Bilbo. After that, the eagles take them a bit further, help them taking a bit further into their journey. And then Gandalf becomes useful one last time by introducing them to a shapeshifter, to a druid guy that can turn into a bear, who helps them get even further to the edge of the Mirkwood. The Mirkwood forest. That's where Legolas comes from. I'm not sure if they're gonna meet Legolas. But now, finally, Daddy Gandalf, the hero, the mentor figure, the Mary Sue that has saved them all along, is finally leaving. So now they're gonna have to live and survive on their own. They're gonna have to actually grow. And who knows what's gonna happen now? Who knows what's gonna happen now? I'm gonna say I want to make an emote, another spinning emote, another dancing emote. But I'm trying to find like how it look like. There is no actual. Yeah, there is one that looks like how I wanna make it, but hang on. It's too fast. What the fuck is with this one? Why is there no like normal speed version of this emote? Okay, let's just add it. I'm gonna do another dancing emote for you to spam when you come. Soon, after I finish my cry emote, I might do the cry emotes in a couple of days when I have a little bit of time. I might finish it. It doesn't. Now that I'm becoming better at doing art, I can do it a bit faster, so it might not be that much effort. So I'll do something like that for you to spam soon enough. Not the boy kiss. We kiss boys in this stream. Spam boys, but still kiss boy. You will use that emote. I'm gonna make it the only animated emote. Then you are gonna have to use it if you wanna greet it. That'll be your greeting. Exactly, Pencil. That's how things go in this stream. That's how the things go in this stream. Now, after my masterful, extremely eloquent explanation of the story so far, we're gonna continue. God, telling the story is actually so difficult. It's kind of difficult to tell the story like in an interesting way. I'm bad at storytelling, honestly. I'm bad at storytelling. I can talk, I can ramble about nerdy stuff, but telling a story about something that happened, even though I'm a writer, as a writer I have time. Like I know how to make this a story that's good to read, not a story that's good to tell. This is another Zatsu skill that's good. Storytelling. Come up with a story to tell on the spot. It's a good skill to have, and I'm pretty bad at it. Yeah. We are chapter 8, page 125 out of 270. So basically, what's 70 half? Almost like almost at the middle point, exact middle point of the story. But there might be like, I might already pass the middle point because there might be like, yeah, there's extra pages over here that are not part of the story. Anyway, 1, 2, 5. Flies, chapter 8, flies and spiders. Now, reading voice. They walk in single file. The entrance to the path was like a sort of arch leading to a gloomy tunnel made by 2 great trees talent together, too old and strangled with ivy and hung with lichen to bear more than a few blackened leaves. The path itself was narrow and wound in and out among the trunks. Soon the light at the gate was like a light bright hole far behind, and the quiet was so deep that their feet seemed to thump along, while all the trees leaned over them and listened. A yawn. Could not hold this one. How many yawns did I have? 169. One nice. As their eyes became used to the dimness, they could see a little way to either side in a sort of darkened green glimmer. Occasionally, a slender beam of sun that had the luck to slip in through some opening in the leaves far above, and still more lucky not being caught in the tangled boughs and matted twigs beneath, stabbed down, thin and bright before them. But this was seldom, and soon it ceased altogether. Yeah, this is Mirkwood, a dark forest. There were black squirrels in the wood. As Bilbo's sharp, inquisitive eyes got used to seeing things, he could catch glimpses of them whisking off the path and scuttling behind tree trunks. There were queer noises too, grunts, scufflings, and hurrings in the undergrowth, and among the leaves that lay piled endlessly thick in places on the forest floor. But what made the noises he could not see. The nastiest things they saw were the cobweb, dark, dense cobweb with threads extraordinarily thick, often stretched from tree to tree, or dangled in the lower branches on either side of them. There were none stretched across the path, whether because some magic kept it clear, or for what other reason they could not guess. It was not long before they grew to hate the forest, partly as they had hated the tunnels of the goblins, and it seemed to offer even less hope of any ending. But they had to go on and on, long after they were sick for a sight of the sun and of the sky, and long for the feel of wind on their face. There was no movement of air under the forest roof, and it was everlastingly still and dark and stuffy. These yawns, another yawn. Even the dwarves felt it, used to tunneling, and lived at times for long whiles without the light of the sun. But the hobbit, who liked holes to make a house in but not to spend summer days in, felt that he was being slowly suffocated. The nights were the worst. It then became pitch dark, not what you call pitch dark, but really pitch, so black that you really could see nothing. Bilbo tried flapping his hand in front of his nose, but he could not see it at all. Well, it's not true to say that they could see nothing. They could see eyes. They slept all closely huddled together, and took it in turns to watch. And when it was Bilbo's turn, he could see gleams into darkness around them, and sometimes pairs of yellow or red or green eyes were staring at him from a little distance, and then slowly fade and disappear, slowly shine out again in another place. And sometimes they would gleam down from the branches just above him, and that was most terrifying. But the eyes that he liked the least were horrible, pale, Bilbo sort of eyes. Insect eyes, he thought, not animal eyes. Only they're much too big. Although it was not yet very cold, they tried lighting watchfires at night. Was with the yawn creak, but they soon gave that up. It seemed to bring hundreds and hundreds of eyes all around them, though the creatures, whatever they were careful never to let their bodies show the light in the little flicker of the flame. Worse still, it brought thousands of dark, grey and black moths, some nearly as big as your hand, flapping and whirring around their ears. They could not stand that, nor the huge black bats, black as a top hat either. So they gave up fires and sat at night and dozed in the enormous uncanny darkness. All this went on for what seemed to the Hobbit ages upon ages, and he was always hungry, for they were extremely careful with their provisions. Even so was they followed days, and still the forest seemed just the same. They began to get anxious. The food would not last forever. It was in fact already beginning to get low. They tried shooting at the squirrels, and they wasted many hours before they managed to bring one down on the path. But when they roasted it, it proved horrible to taste, and they shot no more squirrels. They were thirsty too, for they had none too much water, but in all the time they had seen neither spring nor stream. This was their state when one day they found their path blocked by running water. It flowed fast and strong, but not very wide, right across the way, and it was black, or looked it in the gloom. It was well that Bjorn had warned them against it, or they would have drunk from it, whatever its color, and filled some of their emptied skins at its bank. As it was, they only thought of how to cross it without wetting themselves in its water. There had been a bridge of wood across, but it had rotted and fallen, leaving only the broken posts near the bank. Bilbo, kneeling on the brink and peering forward, cried, "There is a boat against the far bank! Now why wouldn't it have been this side?" "How far do you think it is?" asked Thorin, for by now they knew Bilbo had the sharpest eyes among them. "Not at all far. I shouldn't think about 12 yards. 12 yards! I should have thought it was 30 at least. But my eyes don't see as well as they used 100 years ago. Still, 12 yards is as good as a mile. We can jump it, and we daren't try to wade or swim. Did any of you throw a rope?" "What's the good of that? The boat is sure to be tied up, even if we could hook it, which I doubt." "Why don't we leave it tied?" said Bilbo. "Of course, I can be sure in this light, but it looks to me as if it was just drawn up on the bank, which is low, just there where the path goes down into the water. Dor is the strongest, but Philly is the youngest and still has the best sight," said Thorin. "Come here, Philly. See if you can see the boat Mr. Baggins is talking about." Philly thought he could, but when he had stared a long while to get an idea of the direction, the others brought him a rope. They had several with them, and on the end of the longest they fastened one of the large iron hooks they had used for catching their packs to the straps above their shoulders. Billy took this in his hand, balanced it for a moment, and then flung it across the stream. Splash! It fell in the water. "Not far enough," said Bilbo, who was peering forward. "A couple of feet and you'll have dropped it on the boat. Try again. I don't suppose the magic is strong enough to hurt you. If you just touch a bit of red rope." Billy picked up the hook when he had drawn it back, read doubtfully on the thing. This time he threw it with great strength. "Steady," said Bilbo. "You have thrown it right into the wood on the other side now. Draw it back gently." Billy hauled the rope back slowly, and after a while Bilbo said, "Carefully, it is lying on the boat. Let's hope the hook will catch it." It did. The rope went taut, and Philip pulled in vain. Tilly came to his help, and then Oin and Gloin. They tugged, and suddenly they all fell over on their backs. Bilbo was on the lookout, however, caught the rope, and with a piece of stick fended off the little black boat as it came to rushing across the sea. "Help!" he shouted, and Bali was just in time to seize the boat before it floated off down the current. "He was tied after all," he said, looking down at his name, the snapped painter that was still dangling for me. "That was a good pull, my lads, and a good job. I thought rope was stronger." "Who crossed first?" asked Bilbo. "I shall," said Thorin, "and you come with me." And Philly and Bowling, as many as the boat will hold at a time. After that, Gilly and Noi and Gloin and Dory. Next, Ori and Nori and Bilford and Beaufort, and last Wally and Bombor. "I'm always last, and I don't like it," said Bombor. "Someone else's turn today." "You cannot be so fat. As you are, you must be with the last and the lightest boatload. Don't start grumbling against orders, or something bad will happen to you." "There aren't any oars." "How are you going to push the boat back to the far bank?" asked the rabbit. "Give me another length of rope and another hook," said Philly. And when they had got it ready, he cast it into the darkness ahead and as high as he could throw it. Since it did not fall down again, they saw it must have stuck in the branches. "Get in now," said Philly, "and none of you haul on the rope that is stuck in a tree on the other side. One of the others must keep shut." Where was? "One of you haul on the rope that is stuck in the tree on the other side. One of the others must keep hold of the hook we use that for us, and when we are safe on the other side, we can hook it on, and you can draw the boat back." In this way, they were all soon on the far bank, safe across the enchanted stream. Wally had just scrambled out with the royal cup on his arm, and Bombor, still grumbling, was getting ready to follow, when something bad did happen. There was a flying sound of hooves on the path ahead. Out of the gloom came suddenly the shape of a flying deer. It charged into the dwarves and bowed them over, then gathered itself for a leap. It sprang and cleared the water with a mighty jump, but it did not reach the other side in safety. Thorin was the only one who had kept his feet and his wits. As soon as they had landed, he had bent his bow and fitted an arrow in case any hidden guardian of the boat appeared. Now he sent a swift and sure shot into the leaping beast. As he reached the further bank, it stumbled. The shadow swallowed it up, but they heard the sounds of hoof quickly falter and then go still. Before they could shout in praise of the shot, however, a dreadful wail from Bilbo put all the thoughts of venison out of their mind. "Bombor has fallen! Bombor is drowning!" he cried. It was only too true. Bombor had only 1 foot on the land when the heart bore down on him and sprang on over him. He had stumbled, thrusting the boat away from the bank, and then toppled back into the dark water, his hands slipping off the slimy roots at the edge. All the boat spun slowly off and disappeared. They could still see his hood above the water when they ran to the bank. Quickly they flung the rope with a hook towards him. His hand caught it, and they pulled him to the shore. He was drenched from hair to boots, of course, but that was not the worst. When they laid him on the bank, he was already fast asleep, with one hand clutching the rope so tight that they could not get it from his grasp. And fast asleep he remained in spite of all they could do. They were still standing over him, cursing their ill luck, and Bombor's clumsiness, and lamenting the loss of the boat, which made it impossible for them to go back and look for the heart. When they became aware of the dim blowing of horns in the wood and the sound as of dogs baying far on, then they all fell silent. And as they sat, it seemed they could hear the noise of a great hunt going by to the north of the path, though they saw no sign of it. There they sat for a long while and did not dare to make a move. Bombor slept on with a smile on his fat face, as if he no longer cared for all the troubles that vexed him. Suddenly on the path ahead appeared some white deer. Then falls as snowy white as the heart had been dark. They glimmer in the shadows. Before Thorin could cry out, 3 of the dwarves had leaped to their feet and loosed off arrows from their bows. None seemed to find their mark. The deer returned and vanished in the trees, as silent as they had come, and in vain the dwarves shot their arrows after them. "Stop! Stop!" shouted Thorin, but it was too late. The excited dwarves had wasted their last arrows, and now the boast that Bjorn had given them were useless. They were a gloomy party that night, and the gloom gathered still deeper on them in the following days. They had crossed the enchanted stream, but beyond it the path seemed to struggle on just as before, and in the forest they could see no change. Yet if they had known more about it and considered the meaning of the hunt and the white deer that had appeared upon their path, they would have known that they were at last drawing towards the eastern end, and would soon have come if they could have kept up their courage and their hope to thinner trees and places where the sunlight came again. But they did not know this, and they were burdened with the heavy body of Bombur, which they had to carry along with them as best as they could, thinking they were some task in turns of four each, while the others shared their packs. If this had not become all too light in the last few days, they would never have imagined it. But as lumbering and smiling Bombur was a poor exchange for packs filled with food, however heavy. In a few days a time came when there was practically nothing left to eat or to drink. Nothing wholesome could they see growing in the wood, only funguses and herbs with pale leaves and unpleasant smell. About 4 days from the enchanted stream, they came to a part where most of the trees were beaches. They were at first inclined to be cheered by the change, for here there was no undergrowth, and the shadow was not so deep. There was a greenish light about them, and in places they could see some distance to either side of the path. Yet the light only showed them endless lines of straight grey trunks like the pillars of some huge twilight hall. There was a breath of air and a noise of wind, but it had sad sound. A few leaves came rustling down to remind them that outside autumn was coming on. Their feet ruffled among the dead leaves of countless other autumns that drifted over the banks of the path from the deep red carpets of the forest. Still, Bombers leapt, and they grew very weary. At times, they heard disquieting laughter. Sometimes, they were singing in the distance too. The laughter was the laughter of fair voices, not of goblins, and the singing was beautiful. But it sounded eerie and strange, and they were not comforted. Rather, they hurried on from those parts with what strength they had left. 2 days later, they found their path going downwards, and before long, they were in a valley filled almost entirely with a mighty growth of oaks. "Is there no end to this accursed forest?" said Thorin. "Somebody must climb a tree and see if he can get his head above the roof, and have a look around. The only way is to choose the tallest tree that overhangs the path." "Hello, Thorinkind. I see a cutie peeking over." We be reading today. We are in Mirkwood, or at least at the end of Mirkwood, and the dwarves are almost at the end of their rope, losing without supplies because there's nothing that's quote-unquote wholesome or safe to eat inside. Of course, somebody meant Bilbo. They chose him because to be of any use, the climber must get his head above the topmost leaves. And so he must be light enough for the highest and slenderest branches to bear him. For Mr. Baggins had never had much practice in climbing trees, but they hoisted him up into the lowest branches of an enormous oak that grew right out into the path, and up he had to go as best he could. He pushed his way through the tangled twigs with many a slap in the eye. He was green and grimed from the old bark of the greater boughs. More than once he slipped and caught himself just in time. And at last, after a dreadful struggle in a difficult place where there seemed to be no convenient branches at all, he got near the top. All the time he was wondering whether there were spiders in the tree, and how he was going to get down again except by falling. In the end, he poked his head above the roof of leaves, and then he found spiders all right, but they were only small ones of ordinary size, and they were after the butterflies. Bilbo's eyes were nearly blinded by the light, He could hear the dwarves shouting up at him from far below, but he could not answer, only hold on and blink. The sun was shining brilliantly, and it was a long while before he could bear it. When he could, he saw all around him a sea of dark green, ruffled here and there by the breeze, and there were everywhere hundreds of butterflies. I expect they were a kind of a purple emperor, a butterfly that loves the tops of oak woods. But these were not purple at all. They were dark, velvety black without any markings to be seen. He looked at the black emperors for a long time and enjoyed the feel of the breeze in his hair and on his face. But at length the cries of the dwarves were now simply stamping with impatience down below, reminding him of his real business. He was no good. Gaze as much as he might, he could see no end to the trees and the leaves in any direction. His heart, that had been lightened by the sight of the sun and the feel of the wind, sank back into his toes. There was no food to go back to down below. Actually, as I have told you, they were not far off the edge of the forest, and if Bilbo had had the sense to see it, the tree that he climbed, though it was tall in itself, was standing near the bottom of a wide valley, that from its top the tree seemed to swell up all around like the edges of a great bow, and he could not expect to see how far the forest lasted. Still, he did not see this, and he climbed down full of despair. He got to the bottom again at last, scratched, hot, and miserable, and he could not see anything in the gloom below when he got there. His report soon made the others as miserable as he was. The forest goes on forever and ever in all directions. Whatever shall we do? And what is the use of sending a hobbit? They cried as if it was his fault. They did not care to pence about the butterfly. They were only made more angry when he told them of the beautiful breeze, which they were too heavy to climb up and feel. That night, they ate their very last scraps and crumbs of food. The next morning, when they woke, the first thing they noticed was that they were still gnawingly hungry. And the next thing was that it was raining, and that here and there the drip of it was dropping heavily on the forest floor. That only reminded them that they were also parchingly thirsty, without doing anything to relieve them. You cannot quench a terrible thirst by standing on the giant oaks and waiting for a chance drip to fall on your tongue. The only scrap of comfort there came expectantly from Bombur. He woke up suddenly and sat up scratching his head. He could not make out where he was at all, nor why he felt so hungry, but he had forgotten everything that had happened since they started their journey that May morning long ago. The last thing that he remembered was the party at the Hobbit's house, and they had great difficulty in making believe their tale of all the many adventures they had had since. Wow, this is actually kind of sad. He forgot the adventures. Like, that's kind of important to remember. It's like defining of your life. Like, these were they already went through the dangers and adventures that would define someone's life. When he heard that there was nothing to eat, he sat down and wept. For he felt very weak and wobbly in the legs. Why did I ever wake up? He cried. I was having such beautiful dreams. I dreamed I was walking in a forest rather like this one, only lit with torches on the trees and lamps swinging from the branches, and fires burning on the ground. And there was a great feast going on forever. A woodland king was there with a crown of leaves, and there was a merry singing, and I could not count or describe the things there were to eat and drink. You need not try, said Thorin. In fact, if you can't talk about something else, you had better be silent. We are quite annoyed enough with you as it is. If you hadn't wake up, we should have left you to your idiotic dreams in the forest. You are no joke to carry even after weeks of short comments. There was nothing now to be done but to tighten the belts round their empty stomachs, and hoist their empty sacks and packs, and trudge along the track without any great hope of ever getting to the end before they lay down and died of starvation Thus they did all that day, going very slowly and warily, while Bomber kept on wailing that his legs would not carry him, and that he wanted to lie down and sleep. "No, you don't," they said. "Let your legs take their share. We have carried you far enough." All the same, he suddenly refused to go a step further and flung himself on the ground. "Go on if you must," he said. "I'm just going to lie here and sleep and dream of food if I can get any other way. I hope I never wake up again." At that very moment, Bali, who was a little way ahead, called out, "What was that? I thought I saw a twinkle of light in the forest." They all looked, and the longest way off, it seemed, they saw a red twinkle in the dark. And then another and another sprang out beside it. Even Bomber got up, and they hurried along them, not caring if it was trolls and goblins. The light was in front of them, and to the left of the path, and when at last they had drawn level with it, it seemed plain that torches and fires were burning under the trees, but a good way off their track. "It looks as if my dreams are coming true," gasped Bomber, puffing up behind. He wanted to rush straight off into the wood after the lights, but the others remembered only too well the warnings of the wizard and of Bior. "A feast will be no good if we never got back alive from it," said Bomber, said Thorin. "But without a feast, we shan't remain alive much longer anyway," said Bomber, and Bilbo heartily agreed with him. They argued about it backwards and forwards for a long while, until they agreed at length to send out a couple of spies, creep near the lights and find out more about them. But then they could not agree on who was to be sent. No one seemed anxious to run the chance of being lost and never finding his friends again. In the end, in spite of warnings, hunger decided them, because Bomber kept on describing all the good things that were being eaten, according to his dream in the woodland feast. So they all left the path and plunged into the forest together. After a good deal of creeping and crawling, they peered around the trunks and looked into a clearing, where some trees had been felled and ground leveled. There were many people there, elvish-looking folk, all dressed in green and brown, and sitting on some rings of the felled trees, in a great circle. There was a fire in the midst, and there were torches fastened to some of the trees round about. The most splendid sight of all, they were eating, drinking, and laughing merrily. The smell of the roast meats was so enchanting that, without waiting to consult one another, every one of them got up and scrambled forwards into the ring with the one idea of begging for some food. No sooner had the first step into the clearing than all the lights went out as if by magic. Somebody kicked the fire, and it ended up in rockets of glittering sparks and vanished. They were lost in a completely lightless dark, and they could not even find one another. Not for a long time, at any rate. After blundering frantically in the gloom, falling over logs, bumping, crashing into trees, and shouting and calling till they must have waked everything in the forest for miles, at last they managed to get themselves in a bundle and caught themselves by touch. By that time they had, of course, quite forgotten what direction the path lay, and they were all hopelessly lost, at least till morning. There was nothing for it but to settle down for the night where they were. They did not even dare to search on the ground for scraps of food for fear of becoming separated again. But they had not been lying long, and Bilbo was only just getting drowsy when Dory, whose turn it was to watch first, said in a loud whisper, "The lights are coming out again over there, and there are more than ever of them." Up they all jumped. There, sure enough, not far away were scores of twinkling lights, and I heard the voices and laughter quite plainly. They crept slowly towards them in a single line, each touching the back of the one in the front. When they got near, Thorin said, "No rushing forward this time. No one is to steer from hiding till I say. I shall send Mr. Baggins alone first to talk them. They won't be frightened of him." "What about me of them?" thought Bilbo. And anyway, I hope they don't do anything nasty to him. When they got to the edge of the circle of lights, they pushed Bilbo suddenly from behind. Before he had time to slip on his ring, he stumped forward into the full blaze of the fire and torches. It was no good. Out went all the lights again, and completeless darkness fell. It had been difficult collecting themselves before, It was far worse this time, and they simply could not find the Hobbit. Every time they counted themselves, it only made 13. They shouted and called, "Bilbo Baggins! Hobbit! Hobbit! You dratted Hobbit! Hi! Hobbit! Confiscate you! Where are you?" And other things of that sort, but there was no answer. They were just giving up hope when Dory stumbled across him by sheer luck. In the dark, he fell over what he thought was a log, and he thought it was the Hobbit curled up fast asleep. It took a deal of shaking to wake him, and then he was awake. He was not pleased at all. "I was having such a lovely dream," he grumbled, "all about having a most gorgeous dinner. Good heavens! Good heavens! He was gone like Bomber!" As they said, "Don't tell us about the dreams. Dream dinners aren't any good, and we can share them. They're at the best. I am likely to get in this beastly place," he muttered, as he lay down beside the dwarves and tried to go back to sleep and find his dream again. But that was not the last of the lights in the forest. Later, when the night must have been getting old, Gilly, who was watching them, came and roused them all again, saying, "There's a regular blaze of light begun not far away. Hundreds of torches and many fires must have been lit suddenly and by magic. And hark to the singing and the harps." Lying and listening for a while, they found they could not resist the desire to go nearer and try once more to get help. Up they got again, and this time the result was disastrous. The feat that they now saw was greater and more magnificent than before, and at the head of a long line of feasters sat a woodland king with a crown of leaves upon his golden hair, very much as Bombur had described the figure in his dream. The elvish folk were passing boughs from hand to hand and across the fires, and some were harping and many were singing. Their gleaming hair was twined with flowers. Green and white gems glinted on their colors and their boughs, and their faces and their songs were filled with mirth. Loud and clear and fair were those songs, and out stepped Thorin into their midst. Dead silence fell in the middle of a word. Out went all light. The fires leaped up in black smoke. Ashes and cinders were in the eyes of the dwarves, and the wood was filled again with their clamor and their cries. Bilbo found himself running round and round as he taunted and calling. "Dory, Nori, Ori, Oin, Gloin, Philly, Killy, Bomber, Bilford, Bolford, Dwalling, Balling, Tori, Yock, and Shoe." All people he could not see or feel were doing the same all around him. But on occasion, "Bilbo!" thrown in. But the cries of the others got steadily further and fainter. And though after a while it seemed to him they changed to yells and cries for help in the far distance, all noise at last died right away, and he was left completely alone in silence and darkness. That was one of his most miserable moments, but he soon made up his mind that it was no good trying to do anything till they came with some little light, and quite useless to go blundering about, tiring himself out with no hope of any breakfast to revive him. So he sat himself down, his back to a tree, and not for the last time fell to thinking of his far distant hobbit hole with its beautiful pantry. He was deep in thoughts of bacon and eggs and toast and butters when he felt something touch him. Something like a strong sticky string was against his left hand, and when he tried to move he found that his legs were already wrapped in the same stuff, but then when he got up he fell over. Then the great spider, who had been busy tying up all he does, came from behind him and came after him. He could only see the thing's eyes, but he could feel its hairy legs as it struggled to wind its abominable threads around and round him. He was lucky that he had come to his senses in time. Soon he would not have been able to move at all. As it was, he had a desperate fight before he got free. He bit the creature off with his hands. He bit the creature off with his hands. Oh my god, beating someone off. He was trying to poison him, to keep him quiet, as small spiders do to flies, until he remembered his sword and drew it out. Then the spider jumped back, and he had time to cut his legs loose. After that, it was his turn to attack. The spider evidently was not used to things that carry such things at their sides. Why do I have hurried away quicker? Bilbo came at it before it could disappear and stuck it with his sword right in the eyes. Then he went mad and leaped and danced and flung out his leg in horrible jerks until he killed it with another stroke. And then he fell down and remembered nothing more for a long while. There was the usual dim grey light of the forest day about him when he came to his senses. The spider lay dead beside him, and his sword blade was stained black. Somehow, the killing of the giant spider, all alone by himself in the dark without the help of the wizard or the dwarves, or of anyone else, made a great difference to Mr. Baggins. He felt a different person, and much fiercer and bolder, in spite of an empty stomach. As he wiped his sword on the grass and put it back in its sheath. "I will give you a name," he said to it, "and I shall call you Sting." After that, he set out to explore. Oh, the music is over. After that, he set out to explore. The forest was grim and silent, but obviously he had first of all to look for his friends, who were not likely to be very far off, unless they had been made prisoners by the elves, or worse things. Bilbo felt that it was unsafe to shout, and he stood a long while wondering in what direction the path lay, and in what direction he should go first to look for the dwarves. Stink! Sting! G! Sting! Sting! Sting the stinger! "Oh, why did you not remember Bjorn's advice and Gandalf?" he lamented. "What a mess we're in now. I only wish it was we. It is horrible being all alone." Tinga. T-I-N-G. T-H-I-N-G. No, Sting. Sting. In the end, he made as good a guess as he could the direction from which the cries for help had come in the night. And by luck, he was born with a good share of it. He guessed more or less right, as you will see. He made up his mind. He crept along as cleverly as he could. Hobbits are clever at quietness, especially in woods, as I have already told you. Also, Bilbo had slipped on his ring before he started. That is why the spiders neither saw nor heard him coming. He had picked his way stealthily for some distance when he noticed a place of dense black shadow ahead of him. Black even for that forest, like a patch of midnight that had never been cleared away. As he drew nearer, he saw that it was made by spider webs, one behind and over and tangled with another. Suddenly he saw too that there were spiders huge and horrible, sitting in the branches above him. And ring or no ring, he trembled with fear lest they should discover him. Then behind a tree, he watched a group of them for some time. And then in the silence and stillness of the wood, he realized that the loathsome creatures were speaking one to another. Their voices were short of thin creaking and hissing, but he could make out many of the words that they said. They were talking about the dwarves. "It was a sharp struggle, but worth it," said one. "What nasty thick skin they have, to be sure, but I'll wager there's good juice inside. Aye, they'll make fine eating when they've hung a bit," said another. "Don't hang them too long," said a third. "They're not as fat as they might be. Been feeding none too well of late, I should guess." "Kill them, I say," hissed the fourth. "Kill them out and hang them dead for a while." "They're dead now, I'll warrant," said the first. "They are not. I saw one struggling just now. Just coming round again, I should say, after beautiful sleep. I'll show you." With that, one of the fat spiders ran along a rope till he came to a dozen bundles hanging a row from a high branch. Bilbo was horrified, now that he noticed them for the first time dangling in the shadows. To see a dwarvish foot sticking out the bottoms of some of the bundles, or here and there the tip of a nose, or a bit of beard, or a bit of wood. To the fattest of these bundles the spider went. It's this poor old bumble, I'll bet," thought Bilbo. And nipped hard at the nose that stuck out. There was a muffled yelp inside, and a toe shot up and kicked the spider straight and hard. There was life in Bomber still. There was a noise like the kicking of a flabby football, and the enraged spider fell off the branch, only catching itself with its own thread just in time. The others laughed. You're quite right, they said. Damn, it's alive and kicking! I'll soon put an end to that! Hissed the angry spider, climbing back onto the branch. Bilbo saw the moment had come when he must do something. He could not get up at the brutes, and he had nothing to shoot with. But looking about, he saw that in this place there were many stones lying in what appears to be a now dry little water course. Bilbo was a pretty fair shot with a stone. It did not take him long to find a nice, smooth, egg-shaped one that fitted his hand cozily. As a boy, he used to practice throwing stones at things, until rabbits and squirrels, and even birds, got out of his way as quick as lightning if they saw him stoop. And even grown up, he had still spent a deal of his time at quoits, darts throwing, shooting at the wand, bows, ninepins, and other quiet games with the aiming and throwing sword. Indeed, he could do lots of things besides blowing smoke rings, asking riddles and cooking, that I haven't had the time to tell you about. There is no time now. While he was picking up stones, the spider had reached Bomber, and so he would have been dead. At that moment, Bilbo threw. The stone struck the spider plunk on the head, and he dropped senseless off the tree, plopped to the ground with all its legs curled up. The next stone went whistling through a big web, snapping its cords and taking off the spider sitting in the middle of it. Whack! Dead. After that, there was a deal of commotion in the spider colony, and they forgot that dwarves were for a bit, I can tell you. They could not see Bilbo, but they could make a good guess at the direction from which the stones were coming. As quick as lightning they came running and swinging towards the Hobbit, flinging out their long threads in all directions, till the air seemed full of waving snares. Bilbo, however, soon slipped away to a different place. The idea came to him to lead the fierce spiders further and further away from the dwarves if he could, to make them curious, excited and angry all at once. When about 50 had gone off to the place where he had stood before, he threw some more stones at these, and at others had stopped behind. Then dancing among the trees, he began to sing a song to infuriate them, and bring them all after him, and also to let the dwarves hear his voice. This is what he sang. Old fat spider sitting in a tree, old fat spider can't see me. At the cot, won't you stop? Stop your spinning and looky for me. Oh Tomody, oh big body, oh Tomody, can't spy me. At the cop, down you drop. You'll never catch me up your tree. Not very good, perhaps, but then you must remember that he had to make it up himself, on the spur of a very awkward moment. He did what he wanted anyway. As he sang, he threw some more stones and stamped. Practically all the spiders in the place came after him. Some dropped to the ground, others raced along the branches, swung from tree to tree, or cast new ropes across the dark spaces. They made for his noise far quicker than he had expected. They were frightfully angry. Quite apart from the stones, no spider has ever liked being called Atticop, and Tomnody, of course, is insulting to anybody. What the hell is Tomnody? Is this an actual word? Is this like a Tolkien thing? Atlantic puffin. What? Tomnody. Atlantic puffin? A fool doons noddy is an actual word. Scottish word. What about Attercop? Tomnody. Okay. A spider. Archaic dialect. British English. A new natured person. Interesting. Attercop sounds like the Norwegian word for spiders. Edacop. Indeed. Well, it wouldn't be the first time English steals a word for something. Northern England. Yeah, from Northern England, I could say. Old English Attercop responded to Edder. Poisonous spider. Cognate to Danish Endicop. I guess there's some cross-cultural pollination going on with the words. I guess the old English versions from Old Norse. Yeah. There's some ancient cross-cultural pollination going on with the etymology here. Just a quick stretch. Off Bilbo's cutter to a fresh place. Several of the spiders had run now to different points in the glade where they lived, and were busy spinning webs across all the spaces between the tree stems. Very soon the Hobbit will be caught in a thick fence of them all around him. That at least was the spider's idea. Standing out in the middle of the hunting and spinning insects, Bilbo plucked up his courage and began a new song. Lazy lob and crazy cob are weaving webs to wind me. I am far more sweet than all than me, but they still cannot find me. Here I am, naughty little fly, you are fat and lazy. You cannot trap me, though you try, in your cobwebs crazy. With that, he turned and found that the last space between the two tall trees had been closed with a web. But luckily, not a proper web. Only great strands of double-thick spider rope ran hastily backwards and forwards from trunk to trunk. Out came his little sword, he slashed the threads and pieces and went off singing. The spiders saw the sword, though I don't suppose they knew what it was, and at once the whole lot of them came hurrying after the Hobbit along the ground and the branches, hairy legs waving, nippers and spinners snapping, eyes popping full of fret and rage. They followed him into the forest until Bilbo had gone as far as he dared. Then quieted a mouse he stole back. He had precious little time, he knew, before the spiders were disgusted and came back to their trees where the warriors were hung. In the meanwhile, he had to rescue them. The worst part of the job was getting up to the long branch where the bundles were dangling. I don't suppose he would have managed it, but Spider had not luckily left a rope hanging down. With its help, though it stuck to his hand and hurt him, he scrambled up, only to meet an old, slow, wicked, fat-bodied spider who had remained behind to guard the prisoners, and had been busy pinching them to see which was the juiciest to eat. They had thought of starting the feast while the others were away, but Mr. Baggins was in a hurry, and before the spider knew what was happening, he felt his sting and roll off the branch dead. Bilbo's next job was to lose a dwarf. What was he to do? If he cut the string which hung him up, the wretched dwarf would tumble-thump to the ground a good way below, wriggling along the branch, which made all the poor dwarves dance and dangle like ripe fruit. He reached the first bumble. Filly or Kitty, he thought, by the tip of the blue hood sticking out the top. Most likely Filly, he thought, by the tip of a long nose poking out the winding threads. He managed by leaning over to cut most of the strong, sticky threads that bound him round, and then, sure enough, with a kick and a struggle, most of Filly emerged. I'm afraid Bilbo might actually laugh at the sight of him jerking his stick fireman legs as he danced on the spider string under his armpits, just like one of those funny toys bobbing on a wire. Somehow or other, Billy has got onto the branch, and then he did his best to help the Hobbit, although he was feeling very sick and ill from spider poison, and from hanging most of the night, and the next day went round and round with only his nose to breathe through. It took him ages to get the beastly strut out of his eyes and eyebrows, and as for his beard, he had to cut most of it off. Oh god, how horrifying! He cut off his beard! Well, between them, they started to haul up first one dwarf and then another and slash them free. None of them were better off than Filly, and some of them were even worse. Some had hardly been able to breathe at all. Long noses are sometimes useful, you see, and some had been more poisoned. In this way, they rescued Killy, Beaver, Beaufort, Dory, and Ori, who rode Bomber was so exhausted, he was a fasten and had been constantly pinch and poke, that he just rolled off the branch and fell plop onto the ground, fortunately onto leaves, and lay there. But there were still 5 dwarves hanging at the end of the branch where the spiders began to come back, more full of rage than ever. Bilbo immediately went to the end of the branch nearest the tree trunk, and he kept back those that crawled up. He had taken off his ring when he rescued Filly and forgotten to put it on again, so now they all began to spot on his. Now we see you, you nasty little creature! We will eat you and leave your bones and skin hanging on a tree. You got that sting, has he? Well, we'll get him all the same, and then we'll hang him head downwards for a day or two. While this was going on, the other dwarves were working at the rest of the captives and cutting at the threads with their knives. Soon all would be free, though it was not clear what would happen after that. The spiders had caught them pretty easily the night before, but that had been unawares and in the dark. This time, they looked like being a horrible battle. Suddenly, Bilbo noticed that some of the spiders had gathered around old Bumber on the floor and had tied him up again and were dragging him away. He gave a shout and slashed at the spiders in front of him. They quickly gave way, and he scrambled and fell down the tree right into the middle of those on the ground. His little sword was something new in the way of stings for them. How he darted to and fro. He shone with delight as he stabbed at them. Half a dozen were killed before the rest drew off and left Bumber to Bilbo. Come down, he shouted to the dwarves on the branch. Don't stay up there and be netted. We saw spiders swarming up all the neighboring trees and crawling along the boughs above the heads of the dwarves. Down the dwarves scrambled or jumped or dropped, 11 all in a heap, most of them very shaken and little use of their legs. There they were at last, 12 of them, counting poor old Bumber, who was being propped up on either side by his cousin Bilfor and his brother Beaufort. And Bilbo was dancing about and waving his stick, and hundreds of angry spiders were goggling down at them all round and about and above. It looked pretty hopeless. Then the battle began. Some of the dwarves had knives, and some had sticks, and all of them could get at stone, and Bilbo had his elvish dagger. Again and again the spiders were beaten off, and many of them were killed, but it could not go on for long. Bilbo was nearly tired out. Only 4 of the dwarves were able to stand firmly, and say they would all be overpowered like weird flies. Already the spiders were beginning to weave their webs all around them again from tree to tree. In the end, Bilbo could think of no plan except to let dwarves into the secret of his ring. He was rather sorry about it, but it could not be helped. I am going to disappear, he said. I shall draw the spiders up, if I can, and you must keep together and make in the opposite direction. To the left there, that is more or less the way towards the place where we last saw the elf fires. It was difficult to get them to understand what with their dizzy heads and the shouts, and the whacking of sticks and the throwing of stone. But at last Bilbo felt he could delay no longer. The spiders were drawing their circle ever closer. He suddenly slipped on his ring, and to the great astonishment of the dwarves, he vanished. Soon there came the sound of lazy lop after cop from among the trees away on the right. That upset the spiders greatly. They stopped advancing, and some went off in the direction of the voice. Attercop made them so angry that they lost their wits. Then Bali, who had grasped Bilbo's plan better than the rest, led an attack. The dwarves huddled together in a knot, and sending a shower of stones drove at the spiders on the left, and burst through the ring. Away behind them now, the shouting and singing suddenly stopped. Hoping desperately that Bilbo had not been caught, the dwarves went on. Not fast enough though. They were sick and weary, and they could not go much better than a hobble and a wobble, though many of the spiders were close behind. Every now and then they had to turn and fight the creatures that were overtaking them, and already some spiders were in the trees above them, throwing down their long, clinging thread. Things were looking pretty bad again when Bilbo suddenly reappeared and charged into the astonished spiders unexpectedly from the side. Go on, he shouted. I'll do the stinging. And he did. He darted backwards and forwards, slashing at spider threads, hacking at their legs and stabbing at their fat bodies if they came too near. The spiders were swelled with rage and sputtered and spluttered and frotted and hissed out horrible curses, but they had become mortally afraid of sting, and dared not come very near, now that they had come back. So curse as they would, their prey moved slowly but steadily away. It was a most terrible business, and seemed to take hours. But at last, just when Bilbo felt that he could not lift his hand for a single stroke more, the spiders suddenly gave it up, and followed them no more, but went back disappointed to their dark colony. The dwarves then noticed that they had come to the edge of a ring where elf fires had been. Whether it was one of those they had seen the night before, they could not tell, but it seemed that some good magic lingered in such spots, which the spiders did not like. At any rate here, the light was greener, and the boughs less thick and threatening, and they had a chance to rest and draw a breath. There they lay some time, puffing and panting. Very soon they began to ask questions. They had to have the whole vanishing business carefully explained, and the finding of the ring interested them so much that for a while they forgot their own troubles. Bali in particular insisted on having the Gollum story, riddles and all, told all over again with the ring in its proper place. But after a time the light began to fail, and then other questions were asked. Where were they? And where was their path? And where was there any food? And what were they going to do next? These questions they asked over and over again. And it was from Lego Bilbo that they seemed to expect to get the answers. From which you can see that they had changed their opinion of Mr. Baggins very much, and had begun to have a great respect for him, as Gandalf had said they would. Indeed, they were really expecting him to think of some wonderful plan for being them, for helping them, or not merely grumbling. They knew only too well that they would soon all have been dead, if they had not been for the Hobbit, and they thanked him many times. Some of them even got up and bowed right to the ground before him, though they fell over with the effort, and could not get on their legs again for some time. Knowing the truth about the vanishing did not lessen their opinion of Bilbo at all, for they saw that he had some wits, as well as luck and a magic ring, and all three are very useful possessions. In fact, they praised him so much that Bilbo began to feel there really was something of a bold adventure about himself. After all, though he would have felt a lot bolder still if there had been anything to it. But there was nothing. Nothing at all. And none of them were fit to go and look for anything, or to search for the lost path. The lost path! No other idea would come into Bilbo's tired head. He just sat staring in front of him at the endless trees. And after a while, they all fell silent again. All except Balin. Long after the others have stopped talking and shut their eyes, he kept on muttering and chuckling to himself. Gollum! Well, I'm blessed! So now that he's nicked past me, is it? Now I know. Just kept crying along, did you, Mr. Baggins? Buttons all over the doorstep. Good old Bilbo. 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 Bo. 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 And then he fell asleep. And there was completely silence for a while. All of a sudden, Dwalin opened an eye and looked round at them. Where's Thorin? He asked. It was a terrible shock. Of course, there are only 13 of them. 12 dwarves and a hobbit. Where indeed was Thorin? They wondered what evil fate had befallen him, magic or dark monsters, and shuddered as they lay lost in the forest. There they dropped off one by one into uncomfortable sleep full of horrible dreams, as evening wore to black night, and there we must leave them for the present. Too sick and weary to set guards or to take turns watching. Thorin had been caught much faster than they had. Remember Bilbo falling like a log into sleep as he slept into a circle of light. The next time it had been Thorin who stepped forward, and as the lights went out he fell like a stone enchanted. All the noise of the dwarves lost in the night, their cries as the spiders caught them and bound them, and all the sounds of the battle next day had passed over him unheard. Then the wood elves had come to him, and bound him, and carried him away. The feasting people were wood elves, of course. These are not wicked folk. If they had a fault, it is distrust of strangers. Though their magic was strong, even in those days they were wary. They differed from the high elves of the west, and were more dangerous and less wise. For most of them, together with their scattered relations in the hills and mountains, were descended from the ancient tribes that never went to Fairy in the west. There were light elves, and the deep elves, and the sea elves went and lived for ages, and grew fairer. Fairer and wiser and more learned, and invented their magic and their cunning craft in the making of beautiful and marvelous things, before some came back into the wild world. In the wide world, the wood elves lingered in the twilight over sun and moon, but love best the stars, and they wander in the great forests that grew tall in lands that are now lost. They dwelt most often by the edges of the woods, from which they could escape at times to hunt or to ride, and to run over the open lands by moonlight or sky. And after the coming of men, they took over more and more to the gloaming and the dusk. Still elves they were and remain, and that is good people. Okay, 2 more pages and we reach the end of the chapter. In a great cave some miles within the edge of Mirkwood on its eastern side, there lived at this time their greatest king, Before his huge doors of stone, a river ran out of the heights of the forest and flowed on and out into the marshes at the feet of the high woodlands. This great cave, from which countless smaller ones open out on every side, wound far on the ground and had many passages and wide halls. But it was lighter and more wholesome than any goblin dwelling, and neither so deep nor so dangerous. In fact, the subjects of the king mostly lived and hunted in the open wood, and had houses or huts on the ground and in the branches. The beeches were their favorite trees. The king's cave was his palace, and the strong place of his treasure, and the fortress of his people against their enemies. It was also the dungeon of his prisoners, who to the cave they dragged Thorin, not too gently, for he did not love the dwarves, and thought he was an enemy. In ancient days they had wars with some of the dwarves, whom they accused of stealing their treasure. It's only fair to say that the dwarves gave a different account, and said that they only took what was their due, for the elf king had bargained with them to shape his raw gold and silver, and had afterwards refused to give them their pay. If the elf king had a weakness, it was for treasure, especially for silver and white gems. And though his hoard was rich, he was ever eager for more, since he had not yet as great a treasure as other elf lords of old. His people neither mined nor worked metals or gems, nor did they bother much with trade or with tilling the earth. All that was well known to every dwarf, though Thorin's family had had nothing to do with the old quarrel I have spoken of. Consequently, Thorin was angry at their treatment of him when they took their spell off him and came to his senses. Also, he was determined that no word of gold or jewels should be dragged out of him. The king looked sternly on Thorin when he was brought before him and asked him many questions, but Thorin would only say that he was starving. "Why did you and your folk 3 times try to attack my people with their merrymaking?" The king. "We did not attack them," answered Thorin. "We came to beg because we were starving." "Where are your friends now, and what are they doing?" "I don't know, but I expect starving in the forest." "What were you doing in the forest?" "Looking for food and drink, because we were starving." "But what brought you into the forest at all?" asked the king. "What brought you into the forest at all?" asked the king angrily. At that, Thorin shut his mouth and would not say another word. "Very well," said the king. "Take him away and keep him safe until he feels inclined to tell the truth, even if he waits 100 years. Then the elves put tongues on him and shut him in one of the inmost caves with strong wooden doors, and left him. They gave him food and drink, plenty of broth, if not very fine, for woodwells were not goblins, and were reasonably well behaved even to their worst enemies when they captured them. The giant spiders were the only living things that they had no mercy upon. There in the king's dungeon poor Thorin lay, and after he had got over his thankfulness for bread and meat and water, he began to wonder what had become of his unfortunate friends. It was not very long before he discovered, but that belongs to the next chapter, in the beginning of another adventure in which the Hobbit again showed his usefulness. Chapter 9, Barrels Out of Bone. But we are already over the limit. My throat is tired and I need to... It's time to leave and rest. It is time to end, and ads are starting like 1 minute. Shit, I don't have more ways to snooze the ads, so you're gonna have to suffer on some ads before you actually end the stream now. Good job, Theories Viewing Skin. Yeah. Anymore, it's like my streams are like normal 4 hours. I could even go further. 5 hours like tires me. Yeah, depending on the game, honestly. Depending on the game, 5 hours I can do too. But it's mostly because my throat gets a bit tired. I'm gonna be completely silent the rest of the day because I have streaming tomorrow. My throat has many uses. It is a very important part of me. Yes, indeed. Other people need to make use of my throat, and by that I mean tomorrow's collab. We're gonna be playing Commandos Behind Enemy Lines with Third and Frankie. I'm actually happy for that game. I'm actually excited for that game because it's a nice. It looks like a fun game. It's gonna be janky, very janky because the game is old and not made for like co-op. But we're gonna be controlling, each of us is gonna be controlling one or maybe more commandos, so it is gonna be something it's gonna be something different. It's gonna be something special. A novel type of gameplay. You don't really are there commandos games? Commandos series games, let's see. Commandos series of video games. What's the last game that they made? 20. Oh, there is one. They still have Commandos 3 HD Remaster. Ooh, interesting. Commandos 2 HD Remaster, Commandos Strike Force. Interesting. Let's see, Commandos 3 Remaster. HD Remaster. Is it on Steam? This is on Steam. Does it have like co-op? I just want to take a look into it. How does it like? It just... Oh, there's a demo for it. Oh, reviews are mixed. Man, well, there is co-op on it. Where are people looking down at? Also, technical bugs like cover mode. Cheap, buggy, and lazy. Yeah, super lazy remaster. Okay, let's see what the other Commandos game. Might as well just play the originals instead. Commandos, I should put them all on my... wishlist. I don't think they are. Oh no, this is the wrong wishlist. Oops. Oopsie. This is my VTuber wishlist. I need to look into Steam. Maybe I should have already put them on the wishlist. Commandos. Let's see. Yeah, they are. They already are on the wishlist. Commandos Origins. Oh, they're making a new one. Plan release date 2024. Oh, nice. Who knows? If it's good, I might get it on release. If it is good, I might get it on release. Anyway, yeah, tomorrow collab. Thursday not gonna stream. Actually not gonna stream Thursday. Just gonna have a private Thursday. Gonna be playing some games with Lapis. Sometimes it's just not because streaming is like a different dynamic. I could stream later, but I need to work, so I still need to work. So even if I don't stream, it's I don't want to waste too much time of my life. Even though I am self-employed, I do need to keep a how do I call it? A discipline. I'm looking for words are hard. I still need a discipline. I guess discipline is a word that fits, but it's not the word I'm looking for. Schedule. I guess, yeah. Like discipline, the hentai. Oh god, you remember? Okay. Let me actually search for this one. I normally only know the... Oh. Now that is an interesting one. I normally don't remember the name of them because I only do the... It's a bit old school. Yeah, definitely old school. I'm taking a look at it. I normally don't remember the name of them because I only like don't watch them translated or something, so there's only just a bunch of Japanese words. I rarely remember the name of the good ones. And if I do like them, I just put it on my favorite lists. On a Sentai. Anyway. It's not discipline, it's just... It's when I'm looking for a word and I can't find it, it feels very annoying. Let me just for discipline thesaurus. Let's see, control, education, method, blah blah blah, restraint, no. Curriculum, no. Regiment. We do need to do a hentai tier list stream. That'll be interesting, but there's actually so many. I need to find a way to find the classics so I can categorize them, because picking random ones will not be the best. Just gotta find a way to get the certified classics or something of that kind. Though I'm more of a doujin reader. No time to actually watch the videos. Same as manga and anime. I'm more of a manga than anime person. Let's see. Thursday, yeah, no stream. Feels. Thursday, no stream. Friday, I'm gonna working on Grammary again. Maybe we'll actually finish Grammary on Friday. I'm doing good progress on Grammary. And after doing Grammary, I could do emotes, or I could do emotes privately, or I could just start the next. I could just like do 2 emotes. I could do 2 emotes. It's not gonna take long to do 2 emotes. I wanna do that dance emote and then a cry emote. And the problem with the dance emote is there's gonna be an animation, but it's gonna be simple. So, let's see. Friday, more art. Saturday is gonna be a crazy night because there's like Among Us hentai, there's gonna be the Among Us collab the afternoon for me. Me, aka Gaius First Leaves is back. you leave. You arrive at the start and then comes back at the end. That is some incredible time, Ultra. The Among Us, yes, the Among Us collab. We're gonna be playing Among Us with a bunch of people this Saturday in the afternoon, and then late at night there's like a TTRPG session with Arax and Tupo and Cody. I'm not sure if 3 of me is gonna participate. Don't remember. I don't know if he answered yet. I'm gonna ask if he's gonna be there too. And then Sunday, Chupo collab. Chupo collab's a must watch. Chupo is gonna be an interesting character. We're gonna do TTRPG, so be playing some OP wizards. Gonna be some interesting characters. I'm more interested in the first part, not the Grammary part. Who needs Grammary when I get bragging rights? Okay, just gonna. Well, you can make her a slave for a day, so go wild on her. Go wild, make use of her. But yes, I am making a list of first. So if you wanna be on my list, I could publish it, make a counter or something. I need to add something. I need to do something with that list. I need to make a counter like for list of first or something. But anyway, and Sunday is gonna be Warcraft 3, Frozen Throne. Gonna continue that. I'm kind of addicted to the game. Not gonna be a comfy, but it's gonna be a nice Sunday afternoon for me with the RTS. Like, I think it's like my favorite time of the day to play RTS, because when I'm night, I'm tired. When it reaches night, I'm already tired. So playing up, I wake up at like 11 a.m. and then at 1 a.m. at 1 p.m. like 2 hours later, I'm already streaming. So basically, waking up as I'm on my most. As I have the most energy. I start as I have the most energy. I'm gonna make her sign a restraining order so I can just get the first part. A restraining order, okay. Okay, don't need to go that far. She's gonna be pretty sad. But okay, she's gonna understand that. Now, let's look for someone to raid. Is there someone playing something interesting today? I follow a shit ton of people, but unfortunately not Dungeons of Blood and Dream. Okay, Perez is playing, but I don't really like raid people at that level. Most of the people that I follow do not play interesting games. That's the unfortunate part. Wait, is Yumi Is Yumi actually streaming? No, it doesn't seem like she's streaming. Can I read race? Can read ace? Yeah, I play interest game, no live though. Play them live then. Play them live then. But yes, you're also not live. Go live now, Turinkite, so I can raid you. Go live now so I can raid you. I hope Lapis doesn't get mad that I'm gonna raid here tonight. I hope Lapis doesn't get mad. Anyway, no, I must go to sleep. Okay, okay. Let's go to the Sonic Artist collabers. They're playing Sonic Adventure DX. I'm not really that big on Sonic Adventure. I'm gonna play the because it's kind of. I'm gonna be honest. Sonic Adventure is kind of cringe, but not in a bad way. Like it's a fun type of cringe. You know, it's silly. It's corny. Yeah, corny is the word. Not exactly cringe. Sonic Adventure is corny as fuck and weird, but it's fun. But still, I prefer the original, like the Mega Drive ones. Well, not exactly the Mega Drive ones. I prefer because the Mega Drive, the Genesis, the first few Sonic, they're kind of like hard as fuck. I prefer when the game is not as hard as that, but it's still a good. It still feels fun to go around the maps with the other Sonics. I should play them one day, but I have too many games. I don't even know if I put them Sonic on my queue. I kind of want to play Sonic CD. That one is one that I never played, and it seems to have some interesting design. I might just play one day because I see other people playing a game. I was like, I should play a game like that. Like they start playing a series, I'm like, I start feeling like playing other stuff like that. It's like how I started Turok. Let's see. Now I'm gonna be playing Halo with Eric. I might actually add more Halo to my list of games. But that's pretty much it for this week. Yeah, next week I was already confirmed I'm gonna have a Halo collab with Eric. We're gonna be playing Halo 1. I need to install the game because I need to install the Master Chief Collection and work on it because I think there's like some weirdness. You need to download at the time, and even if you install it, doesn't install everything, all of the games at the same time. So yeah, I need to prepare. But that's pretty much it. I spoke quite a lot. We're already 30 minutes past my limit, so let's give Ace a raid. Playing Sonic Adventure. Here's your raid message. Now, take care of your waifus, take care of your husbandos. I'll see you all tomorrow. Gonna be... Oh yeah, it's gonna be an hour earlier. Collab tomorrow is gonna start an hour earlier than my night streams. So just be warned. Now, Grimmer's going to start the milking now. Good luck, have fun, bye bye.